Wake up. It's time for Primal Scream.
Primal Scream Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I am, as always, Todd.
That's a new thing with you, isn't it? Now I am, as always.
No, I just...
You did it last time.
I got
you
tired
did
of
this
saying
time.
Todd. I'm Todd.
We got to do something new every now and then.
Or you want to spice it up. Spice
Yeah.
up life.
Well, this podcast is brought to you by It Works. It's that crazy wrap thing. That's what you might see. You might see those little cardboard handouts, little wraps around people's waists and measuring tapes or whatever around them.
It's very exciting stuff.
But not only do they have that stuff, they also have green blends where you get your essential vitamins. And
I do greens 3 times a day.
do you really?
Yeah.
You bumped it up from 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Well, here's mine.
I just like it the way it makes me feel. And I haven't been sick for a year and a half. And I've been doing greens for at least a year. I usually, I'm like everybody else. I get sick maybe once a year, catch the flu or something like that. But I have had absolutely nothing. Now, I've been recently this last week, I got I'm working in a new building, and I'm thinking that it's like humid in the hallway and then muggy and cold as fuck in the room, and then you go back and forth. And so I don't know if they have like some problem with their ventilation, but I've been like having these like coughing fits at night.
I thought you were going to say like you have like cold sweats or like you're having menopausal.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
having some menopause?
Nipples are hard. Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm concerned with who he's having sex with. Cold as fuck. What kind of sex is he having?
Ice
And
bags.
if your nipples are dripping sweat, that's not very erotic.
Who is talking about dripping nipples?
I don't know.
You
I
are.
just threw that in right
Yeah,
now.
that was horrendous. Thank
And
you for
today
that.
we have with us Doug Thompson,
Hi. Yeah.
comedian, hypnotist, all around great guy.
Well, I was wondering what were you drinking there? Was that a kale shake? Or?
This is the greens product from It Works, and it's supposed to have your daily
Intake of vegetables?
intake of vegetables.
Oh.
Yeah, fruits and vegetables. So
That's nice.
Like one of my kids just will not eat fruits and vegetables. He just won't eat it. And so he has to have that. I'm like, you either eating fruits and vegetables or you having one of those a day.
yeah,
And
great.
it kind of works to get him
A
at least
great way to
something
do that. There's a
nutrient-wise.
berry flavor. There's an orange flavor, and my kids are pretty good at taking this stuff. Like, I will juice fruits
right.
and vegetables. I will blend it also. But even with that, we'll put that in some vanilla yogurt, mix it up. My kids eat it. No big deal. Very
Yeah.
sweet.
Well, the worst part about juicing is the cleanup. Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, you're not kidding. It is. See, I blend almost solely because it takes so much time to juice. I just blend stuff because I'm still getting the juice.
Tons of fiber.
I'm just getting tons of fiber instead. And so, but there are times where I'm like, you know what? Kale is probably better to juice because even like a really great fucking blender, I still have bits of kale in it when it's that kind of tough kale. Maybe I have a shitty blender. Is that what you're looking at me
Yeah,
like
I
that
think
for?
so.
I don't know.
shitty
I
blender.
mean, I got a pretty high dollar blender, and I don't have that issue.
Well, because your blenders cost a fortune.
Blend Tech. It'll blend it up, baby.
Oh yeah, well.
How about the one from that movie that guy had? The guy that drove around just juicing all the time?
Oh, he has that. He has that
I have
juicer.
that
I have that juicer too.
The-
It works pretty well.
What is that?
Not
What's that
apparently.
called?
You get chunks of kale in your thing.
Oh,
No,
I mean,
no.
I meant like the
Oh.
blend. My
Yeah, he
blender's
uses
not
a
good.
blender.
My juicer is awesome.
Yeah.
My blender just does not work as well because I want to just
So
blend.
you
kale.
watch that? You watch
Oh,
that?
that's a great movie.
What is it? What's it called?
Something sick and nearly dead.
Yes.
something
Fat,
like that.
Sick, and Nearly Dead. Yeah.
And he still promotes things like crazy. His Facebook page is pretty awesome.
And
too,
now he's doing commercials on YouTube, promoting that juicer.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
I can't
Well,
tell
the
you
biggest thing
name of
I thought I was amazed by his transformation, but that truck driver from Iowa to me just floored me. When you can get off all your meds, I mean, literally, when you get off your diabetes meds and your heart meds, and cholesterol, I mean, that's astounding.
it. He's dead now, though, that guy is.
Oh, shut up! You're so full of shit. Oh my god!
It turned out he wasn't getting enough iron in his diet, and
he needed solid food. He just
He
forgot all
choked
about
on a
it.
kale chunk.
and out. But that, if you haven't seen that movie documentary, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, it's really amazing. And at one point, that truck driver from Iowa, he goes to like a
Spirit Lake.
Yeah.
Spirit Lake, and he hangs out there. And after a couple months of doing this, a juice cleanse. He did it for 10 days, and then he said, "Hey, I feel pretty great right now. I'm going to continue doing it." And he just didn't stop. What did he do it for over 60 days?
He had kind of a reawakening because while he was at Spirit Lake, because it's a vacation spot in central Iowa, he was like, I remember in high school I used to love to swim, and so he got his huge body out in the water and was like, oh, I should start doing this again if I'm going to change my life. In one sense, let's change it all all the way around.
Didn't he start working at the YMCA? He quit truck driving and started working at the YMCA.
Yeah,
really?
because
Oh,
he recognized that type of lifestyle, that in a truck all day long, not being active, was just killing him.
Like what I do from town to town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you really? Is that what you do? Is just go town to town like that? I mean,
No, not like that. But there's times where you'll spend. I mean, I just did 18 hours in a car. I went to Cleveland with Impractical Jokers, and I drove there.
Oh, how was that?
How was it?
Oh my God, 3,000 people, biggest show we've had. 3,000 unbelievable people.
And so, were you like? How did it work with you and them? Was it like a?
Well, I've been with them for like a year and a half now. I open for them, so I'll go out and do anywhere from 10 minutes to 20 minutes in front of them, depending on what the venue wants. So I just do 10 to 20 minutes of comedy, and then I'm done, and I just sit back and
Enjoy
drink.
the rest
And
of
are
the
they
show.
this? So I've seen them on TV, but I'm not familiar with their stand up. What's their stand up like?
Well, their stand-up is not. They're kind of a comedy troupe. So what you see on TV, they do a lot of their live show. It's really cool because you get to see behind the scenes on how they make it and why they're a show. They show how they pitched it. They show the things they did beforehand because they were actually real big, and they won a couple. A lot of people don't know this, but they've been doing it for 14 years.
Wow.
And some of those guys, when the first season, they all had their jobs. They all still had their normal jobs. And they would go do this show, but then they got picked up by NBC. They won a contest with NBC. And then NBC they didn't go anywhere after the pilot. Then True TV picked up the show, and then that became it. So during their live show, they show kind of their progression. They talk about things from the road, things that happen. It's great.
Wow.
It's a great live show. It's dirty.
Sweet.
I'm telling you, the first time I was with them,
So I might be offended.
You of all people will be
Yeah.
horribly offended.
I don't think so. It's not that bad. Unless you're like some people that bring their 7-year-old kids to the show.
Oh.
I remember one show I was doing with them. We were at what is that place called in Davenport? The big venue.
The Mark?
Not the Mark. It wasn't that. It was a theater. Adler?
Okay, yeah.
Is it the Adler?
Yeah.
And I'm out there. I'm about 2 minutes into my set, and I'd already said a couple things. They're innuendos. So this kid might not have got it. I look down. I'm like, that's a freaking 7-year-old sitting there. So it totally threw.
So was it one of those things where people watch True TV and they think it's funny, and then go to the show and it's
and
it's
they're
like seeing Howie Mandel in concert,
right, or Bob Saget.
or Bob. Oh God, Bob Saget's an even better example.
Bob Saget.
Why is he dirty?
Oh, fuck.
unbelievable.
Dude,
he's the one that did
one
the
of the wor-
Aristocrats. Have you ever seen that?
He's one of the worst out there when it comes to dirty stand-up.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that funny? See
Yeah,
her?
because all I think of him is Full House. And,
Every other word's F word. Unbelievable.
He was
How
on
does
set-
he hold that stuff back, especially when he was doing funniest home videos, right? He did
yeah.
funniest home
Oh,
videos
that's
for a
right.
long
He's
time.
Yeah, he did.
He did that for a long time, and he did Full House. So how would you, if that's just part of your natural?
Well, the first time I saw him and I realized what he did was it Entourage on HBO that he had like a cameo on 2 or 3 episodes, and I was like, holy shit, this guy is really swearing a lot. And then I started YouTubing him, and I thought, oh, so that's what he does for a stand-up. That's interesting.
So now you know why those two twins turned out so crazy. Because as soon as they said cut, he was like,
Well,
the other day, I
that
saw a
and their
picture of them.
billions of dollars.
I saw them the other day, and they were both wearing. It must have been Halloween from a year ago, and they were both wearing some kind of skirt and were completely topless with stars on their breasts, on their nipples,
How'd
and
you
they're
know?
just posing together. I'm like, going, what the?
Who
Boy,
does-
we've come
who
a long
does
way.
that?
We've come a long way
Oh,
from
you do.
this
You do
to
that.
that. And they're obviously, I mean, they're grown women now, but it just kind of catches you off guard because I remember them as these cute twins on Full House. So
well, I think a lot of people do. But they're
Well, then
weird.
they had exercise videos, and I mean, they just, for lack
They
of a
had
better
exercise videos?
term, yeah, they had exercise
Yeah.
Really?
videos. They had a whole bank of VHS tapes, but for lack of a better term, they got hoard out
We're without question.
for sure. Yeah, and everybody ate it up.
well, it's kind of like Miley Cyrus now, you know, but she's doing it on purpose. It's a
Well,
set up thing that
She
she's
didn't
doing.
get whored out. She is whoring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, who was it that said that? watched all that happen. That's Tammy Jason.
Tammy Jason. Yeah.
A country singer, Chuck Kavanaugh's wife is a country singer. She's been on, and she said that she watched some
Behind the scenes.
some
type of
behind the
thing.
scenes thing that just showed how that was all mapped out and planned for her to just kind of go bonkers and do whatever she wants to do.
Well,
And
a lot of that stuff is that people don't realize behind the scenes they do. They do certain things. Well, I don't know. Are you guys Nirvana fans?
yeah, I love Nirvana.
Okay, I'm big on the conspiracy that he was murdered and
Okay.
didn't commit suicide, because if you ever read this thing on it, there's a lot of stuff that builds up about it, about how Courtney Love was setting it up to be a suicide. She hired somebody to kill him. The guy said no. Then he was killed shortly after. If you watch this documentary, you'll see. But she had planned these things that she would stage in the media. Like she went into an overdose. It never happened. And this private investigator she hired to find Kurt she didn't realize he was going to get so deep. They just reopened the investigation like a year ago.
Wow, I had never heard that story. I'd never heard that conspiracy before.
What's the documentary?
It's called Kurt and Courtney. And then if you look up, I think the website is Justice for Kurt. And there's all this stuff, all this timeline. It's crazy. But those people, a lot of those people like Miley Cyrus, they build that up as targeted plans. Like when she went into the hospital, I don't think she was sick. All of a sudden, you start seeing these Twitter events with Miley Cyrus. She was out of the limelight. Now she's in the hospital. We don't know what's wrong with her. She's sick. She's probably got an infection from sticking her tongue out on everything. But those are the things that amaze me. I love conspiracy stuff when you start reading it. Like I'm really big right now into the Brian Jones death from the Rolling Stones. Are you familiar with him?
I'm not.
I'm familiar with him. I haven't heard the conspiracy.
Well, there's a conspiracy that supposedly they were going to pay him $200,000 for every year the Rolling Stones stayed together because they kicked him out of the band. Mick and Keith Richards. Keith Richards had taken his wife or girlfriend.
Right.
What a great guy.
Yeah, and they were kicking him out for drugs. Have we seen Keith Richards
I was going to
lately?
say hello.
I mean, really a bit weird, isn't it? But he died under suspicious circumstances. They said he OD'd and drowned in the pool. Well, he had like 4 pints of alcohol in him.
Huh.
That's like 4 beers. The guy's a raging alcoholic. He was a swimmer that once swam like 3 miles in the ocean. They all thought he would drown, and he swam back. So when you start reading these things, he didn't drown. They've believed that they hired the guy that was there working on his house, a contractor, to kill him. That's what they think.
Allegedly.
And that guy supposedly confessed on his deathbed.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you could bring me. I don't think you could get me enough money. Hey, listen, hook
To
us
what?
up. We'll give you $2 million. This guy's gonna be out by the pool drinking. When he gets hammered, just drown him.
Well, no,
Listen, you would probably choke me with your bare hands.
No,
with
I
enough
wouldn't.
money.
Right.
No, I would not. Absolutely not.
For sure.
But the crazy
so
thing is, he
full of
shit.
lived with
Todd's
him.
loot just
He lived with him
vicious.
for 2 months, so he didn't just show up. He'd been living with him and doing drugs with him and getting crazy with him all the time because he was working on his house. So it's a weird. I mean,
Interesting.
when you're on the road and you're sitting in a hotel room with nothing to do for 20 hours a day, you start finding stuff on the internet. What is this? A squirrel kung fu fighting? I'll watch this.
How long has he been training?
Yeah.
All right. So I
That's
asked
awesome.
Jeff. I think of hypnotists and mentalists.
Well, we don't even know what Jeff does yet. Besides, he was on stand-up. So why don't we just give like what is
So
it?
you're talking about Jeff.
What
I'm
are you
talking about Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff.
That's all right. I've
Johnson.
been called worse.
Doug.
And Jeff.
Doug. Jeff.
Okay.
Jeff Johnson.
Thanks, asshole.
So-
Go ahead.
You talking to him? You talking to me or him? Take it easy.
Him.
It's crazy. This guy is swearing.
Well, I was asking Jeff. I'm like, I think of these guys as like Batman. You're like Bruce Wayne. I think of these things like he went off. Bruce Wayne, in the comic books, he went off and he learned all these crazy tricks and
Are you talking about the hypnosis
Powers.
side?
yeah, the whole hypnotist thing. It just that stuff amazes me. And I heard that you are kind of a historian of sorts
Oh yeah.
for hypnotism.
I like reading about it.
So how did you get to be interested in it, and like where did you train, and like how did that come about?
Well, I had a gentleman that I trained under. How it came about was I've been a comic for quite a while, and I wanted to comedy's fun, but I have a wife and kids, and I wanted to make a good living. So I thought, you know what? If I expand, I'm not going to do magic. I'm not that guy. It's just not what I do. So I thought hypnosis is. I've always been fascinated by watching people do it. So I started learning more and more about it. You know, hypnosis is not. It's not incredibly hard to do. What's hard to do is to get people to let themselves go, because you've been hypnotized, right? How many times?
Well, once on a show, once in front of an audience, and then I listen to I meditate a lot.
Okay.
So that's a form of
So
hypnosis.
TM. Do you do the TM stuff?
I
like Howard
do
Stern
the
does? Bring in the boogerito, Gary.
I do the what is it? What's it called? The Silva Ultramind hypnosis, self-hypnosis tapes.
And that's
It's transcendental meditation. Though.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what all hypnosis truly is. I'm not doing anything magical to hypnotize people. I'm just getting them to realize that they can let go. And that's really, truly where it becomes. But as far as the historian part, it's amazing what's behind hypnosis. And it's starting to become more and more of, they're starting to do medical journals on it. And when you know the medicine field starts getting into it, something is happening with it. It's becoming more popular because, for example, I have surgery coming up July 1st. They just told me you can't eat from midnight until the next day. Well, my surgery's not till 3 in the afternoon. I'm like, what? Because they don't want you to aspirate under anesthesia.
Okay.
You could drown in your, if you throw up, you drown. So where hypnosis is becoming more popular is, let's say me and you are driving in a car on the way home. We just stopped at a place to eat. We get in a wreck. Well, you need surgery. Well, sometimes they can't do that because they're afraid that person may die on surgery. So they're starting to do more hypnosis in there. Seditation by hypnosis. I believe Princess Kate, did hypnobirthing. So that shows you how powerful people's minds are. And it's always been there. That's what original hypnosis was used for. The guy that created it Mesmer was his name. That's why it's called mesmerized. And then he did it as animal magnetism. Well, people go, what? This guy's crazy as shit. So another gentleman took it over and created it. And there's some guys that are just amazing what they've done and the way that they've changed people's thoughts on it. And as it keeps continuing, there's so many hypnotists out there. There's so many bad ones, though. That's the incredible part. It's like if you get a bad hamburger at a joint, you'll never go back there. You'll tell everybody how bad it is. Some of these guys are not good hypnotists.
So what makes a bad hypnotist?
They take advantage of people.
Oh.
They when I say take advantage, you'll never really do anything against your morals or ethics on stage.
Right.
But sometimes people have those deep-rooted morals or ethics that are not maybe that good. And some of these guys that are R-rated hypnotists, and it's fun to watch. Hey, I laugh. I have fun. I'll never do it because some of these guys take people like women past a point that they shouldn't be on stage.
Oh.
You should. I mean, you kind of have, they've gave you the permission, but
You have a responsibility.
some more obligation to kind of
you
hold
got to
it.
be ethical.
There you go.
I have a wife and 2 daughters, so I like to think that somebody. I want to treat those people the way I would want somebody to treat my wife and kids on stage. I don't like that taken advantage of. But as far as the things that happen up there, sorry about that, I moved away. Things that happen is people sometimes can lose control of what they're doing and not necessarily. It's like drinking too much alcohol. We've all been there, right?
Yeah.
Where the next day your buddy goes, dude, you should just saw yourself last night. Yeah, it was the alcohol. No,
That
it was
never
you,
happens
man.
to me.
We got it on YouTube.
Exactly. And that's how I described my experience in Vegas to Jeff was I just felt like the difference between if you would have asked me to do that when I was stone cold sober, I probably would have said, nah, I don't really feel like masturbating in front of my mom.
Is that what you did?
Yeah, they had us.
You went to Anthony Cool's then, didn't you?
It could have been.
Was it in the...
I don't know. I don't even know what casino it was
What
in.
venue is it?
But
it was on the street.
It's on the
just some
street.
That's why it
random
was so
dude
bad.
and sleep. And masturbate.
Yeah, they were like, okay, now you're going to pretend to have the opposite sex. You're going to have a vagina.
Oh,
And, so they did the kind of, I think, is it like a stereotypical, like, smoke marijuana, masturbate, smell the other person's genitals next to you,
I've never done that, but
act like it's the greatest smelling stuff you've ever smelled in your whole life, and now act like it's the most disgusting thing.
yeah, you do a lot of that.
So I thought that was very, and so I described it as being stone cold sober or feeling like, yeah, fuck it.
You made it sound like it was just like lowering your inhibitions.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
exactly.
what you do.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Well, that's what hypnosis truly is that, and that's how you get people to lose weight, because they're not unconscious, but their subconscious mind has quit battling. Their subconscious mind now says, okay, I'm taking this in. So when I work with people that quit smoking or chewing or overeating or anything like that, I'm basically building them. I talk to them before. I do clinical stuff in my clinic.
right.
And I talk to them about what they want to change and how do they see it changing. Because if I just started talking to you about why you should quit eating, well, I don't know what you eat. What do you hate about eating? I find that stuff out. Why do you feel you fail with it? And when I find that out, then I'm able to use it. So I'm taking down that, they got their guard up on why they want to do it. I've dropped it down, and that's kind of what your inhibitions are gone.
Interesting. And see, when you and I talked about, because we knew you did clinical stuff, but we really wanted to talk about the comedic stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to be meeting a woman
In
Yeah, Jeff said that. Cedar Falls lady.
in Waterloo,
Yeah.
and supposedly all she does is therapy stuff. And I told Matt, I said, we really need to come down with, or go up there with distinct things we want to work on. And I'm sure, like you said, she'll probably ask questions so that she can talk to us about that stuff,
Yeah,
not just sweet tarts, but like all candy. That would be great.
we-
Every time you see a sweet tart.
Is that your Achilles tendon?
I don't
is sweet tart.
Sugar. Just sugar, period, is a big one for me. And eating past 7 o'clock,
Oh, I always try and stop eating that stuff, but end up with like a hubcap full of cereal on my chest at midnight.
Exactly. And when we talk about it all the time, how we're just like, he and I used to be personal trainers way back in the day. We still work out quite a bit and try to stay healthy. And yet we're still carrying too much weight because we absolutely choose not to do the right choice.
Well,
yeah, even though we know,
Even though we know all the background, all the science, everything about it, we're still choosing to not do that.
Well, you're always your own worst enemy. Everybody's self-destructive in that. Everybody knows that you shouldn't. You spend your whole first 30 years trying to kill yourself on alcohol and staying up late. And then you spend the next, when you turn 40, like, I got to make a change. But I made it this far, so I feel like I'm talking like Billy Bob Thornton there for a second. What's with these goddamn sandwiches, kid?
Oh, I just watched the final episode of Fargo last night that Billy Bob Thornton has been
That's
on.
a pretty good movie. I appreciate you watching it. We
a
didn't
good
know
movie.
if it'd take over or not, but I used to carry a vial around my neck of Angelina Jolie's blood.
I remember that.
I've got tattoos on my testicles that say,
Brad, you're not welcome.
Brad, get away from the mud flaps.
No, they redid Fargo for TV from the movie.
Is it good?
And it was fantastic. I first thought, I was like, nah, I've seen the movie. I like the movie. It's the same exact story, but they go more in depth to stuff, and it was really, really awesome. The guy who plays, he plays the main Hobbit in all these new Hobbit movies.
Oh, I was like, there's a Hobbit in Fargo?
No, who's the
That's
actor?
when they went
There's a
deep,
little
when
British.
they went deeper into the story. You find out there's hobbits.
Gosh.
There's a British actor who I heard was going to be playing the guy, and I was like, oh, really? But he played great American accent and did a really awesome job. It was really good. And Billy Bob Thornton played the serial killer in that movie.
Yeah,
or the
I
hitman.
watched the part where they said he needed a scanner. I need a scanner. And the guy goes, here, I got a pink one. Why the hell would I want a pink scanner? His voice is so great to do, but nobody knows that goddamn voice. The only people that know Billy Bob Thornton is Sling Blade,
Oh,
Oh,
I love
yeah.
the Sling Blade.
Yes.
Little boy your age shouldn't be talking like that.
God, I love that movie.
But that's one thing I do on stage with people is I have them thinking that they're talking to the celebrities. when they're
Oh,
under
that's a great
hypnosis.
bit.
So nobody's doing it, so it kind of sets me a little bit
Yeah.
different.
That's awesome.
Like I'll have them at the beach, which people say you're at the beach, and then I'll have like the ladies that go, "Oh, here comes Matthew McConaughey. You want to say something to him?" And I'll be like, all right. This looks like a good day here." And they'll be, "Oh my God." And then they do the masturbation bit on their own. I don't even have to tell them to. "Your swimsuit's getting crusty, bro. Pauly Shore just showed up at the beach. Check the whistle, bros."
He's still performing, isn't he?
Yeah. I toured with him for quite a while. He's a strange cat. Nice guy. Awesome guy, man. He's just different.
Well,
Cut from a different cloth.
Jeff talked about how and a lot of comedians are a bit off.
Oh yeah.
I would think it's more background, as kind of how you're raised and the ththings that have happened to you throughout your life. But then you hear, but some people are really off, like just really bizarre people.
Some people are very introverted and their social skills are horrible, but they make great comedy. I'm not kidding. There's some guys
awesome.
that you'll go up to talk to like backstage and like, wow, what the hell's that guy's deal?
Oh,
just that way. Then he gets on stage, a totally different person. You're like, what the hell?
Oh, really?
What just happened?
Like,
here?
is it me?
Yeah. I got a booger hanging out of my nose or something. But
That's interesting.
It just, I can't tell you where people's comedy comes from. I can tell you where mine comes from. Mine just comes from everyday life.
Right.
And some people maybe had, it's always like it was the nerds that become comics. That's what everybody always thinks. It couldn't be an athlete, couldn't be a sports guy, but that's untrue. There's funny guys that are like that. And it's how you view the world. I view the world in a weird way. Everything I see, I think of funny. I think, how can I make this funny? What can be funny about this? Where some people look at the bad and go, oh, he shouldn't be talking about that. That's bad.
That's bad.
But if you can find the funny, why not, right?
Well, I think life is hard enough as it is. If you haven't let your perspective get so skewed, you can try to find at least the positive in everything, and so that should lead you to at least some funny.
Right. And that's
so. What do you think is your best impression?
Beavis and Butthead, I do real good. Do you like them?
I love Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, I like Beavis and Butthead. Yeah.
These dudes kick ass, Beavis. Oh yeah. But today's taco day. Hey, Stuart, what do you say we go outside and shoot some of your plates?
That's fantastic.
Then you remember Mr. Anderson, don't you? Damn it, boys, get out of my pool cabana.
Yeah.
It's really Hank Hill.
Oh, it is Hank Hill.
Hank
Yeah,
Hill.
Mike Judge is the guy that created it. And
Yeah.
he did King of the Hill, which is, damn it, Boomhauer, I may own go, man, bang, man, do that thing, man, do it.
Well, we were talking about Mike Judge with Jeff because I'm a huge fan of Silicon Valley on HBO.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've never watched it.
And that's it's really different than what he's done before. He found 3 or 4 really quirky comedians who fit the role of computer geek perfectly, and they just play it forever. I mean, the one main character on there who's a real oddball was on
T.J. Miller.
T.J. Miller, yeah, he was on Late with Seth Meyers, and he came on and he was a really funny guy, but seemed pretty laid back and not like his character at all. And then there's an Indian guy who I've seen a couple his stand up a little bit. He plays one of the kind of tech nerd guys. But yeah, it's really, really well written and the funny stories, man, really. But it's all based in Silicon Valley with like just tons of cash.
Is that an HBO show or is it?
Yeah.
HBO show.
So I had to get television.
Well, do you have HBO Go yet?
I don't even have ESPN.
No.
I have HBO Go, so we'll just share that.
We got rid of ESPN.
Can't say that.
Edit?
What?
Well, they don't know who you are, Todd.
He can borrow my HBO Go.
Uh-oh. They're trying to steal stuff.
That's like a lisp with what else in there?
It's just, you just slow your voice down and add a little bit of a lisp. I already have a lisp anyways, so it's not this fabulous kind, but it's this type.
So let's go back to we often have this happen on this podcast.
I got ADD
we're like
real bad.
Fuck, dude, we go down rabbit holes like nobody's business. It was called the rabbit hole at one point when we first
I
started.
heard that when you guys with the episode of Denise Staple. I heard you say rabbit hole, and I thought, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, a long time ago. We just never stay on topic ever.
Never.
Right, ever.
But so name the guys again that you were on stage with in Cleveland.
And Practical Jokers. Also known as the Tenderloins is their original.
The Tenderloins. Are they from the Midwest? Are they from Iowa?
They're from New York, Staten
okay.
Island.
Staten Island.
Yeah.
And so, how did you get hooked up with them? Just via Jeff and the stuff that he's done, or what?
Yeah, it's kind of a neat story. A lot of people don't realize that Jeff is a big booker. I mean,
I gathered that
he brought Larry the Cable Guy. He's booked for 25 years. Matter of fact, Penguins is coming up on 25 years of history, which is a long time for a comedy club.
In Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But he books a lot of people. Well, he had heard about these guys, and he heard they did a live show. So he brought them into Cedar Rapids or Cedar Falls to do their first live show as the Practical Jokers, as the Tenderloins, or whatever, vice versa. Well, then they came to Cedar Rapids, and then I watched the whole progression, where it was like couple hundred, 400 people, 500 people. Now it's 3,000 people.
Wow.
Now we're going on a 14-day bus tour. And all these venues sell out. you're like, holy shit. But Jeff was kind of the mastermind that started that whole deal. Obviously, they were already set and became big. But these communities that people go to, oh my God, they go crazy over it. They just go bananas. And how I got hooked up with them is Jeff is their road manager. So I'm the guy that'll go, hey, can I get in on that? Can I open for him?
Sure.
And just to get that credit and get your name out there, it's not a lot of pay, but it's a great credit. Instead of performing in front of 45 people, now you're in front of 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference.
Even if you're warming up, it's still, I mean.
That's the best part. Is
Yeah.
I only got to go out and do 10 to 15 minutes. But sometimes we did the Hard Rock Live in Orlando, and there's times when you walk on stage and you know that it's kind of like, well, there's a hole in the boat, I think, already.
Oh,
we haven't even left the dock.
That makes my heart palpitate just thinking about walking on stage and knowing already
Crickets.
something's up.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's Jeff's ringtone. That's what Jeff's ringtone is if he ever calls me. It's crickets. Sometimes he gets them on there. But when he walked out, I had the same dressing room as Paul McCartney. So my dad, in my dad's mind, I made it now. I took a shit where Paul McCartney. You might want to wipe a bit longer there. That's a bit different. Peace and love, baby. But anyways, Jeff goes out and goes, you ready? And I'm like, yeah. And they got this elevator. You bring you up and you're outside of the stage and you walk in there. And there's I think there was 1,300 people at this venue. And it's hollowed ground at this point. You're walking onto that stage. There's been a lot of big names on it. And he goes out and says, you guys ready for the Impractical Jokers? But first, the energy just left the room. You could,
Oh, really?
it was like the people in the front row had the look of defeat. Like, who's this guy? I felt like John Denver walking out in front of Van Halen, playing a couple acoustic songs. Hey, guys. But that was a time where, see, as a comic or as any entertainer, I like to say it as a comic. If you're dying on stage, you always think this next joke's going to get him. And it doesn't. So I learned a long time ago, if you get to that point, I just remember looking over at Jeff like, he said, hey, when we crossed each other, he goes, if you're having trouble, just pull the plug. So I was going to do 15 minutes. About 9 minutes into it, I'm looking around to see if those guys are up on stage on the side jet. Because they always, 2 of them are over here and 2 of them to your left. I saw 3. So I'm like, I got to get out of here. I want to get off the stage. And it wasn't going horrible, but it just wasn't. The people
vibe
weren't into
wasn't
it.
happening.
Yeah. It was one of those sets that, you look at it and go, okay, that wasn't great, but it wasn't, I didn't need a plate of shit.
Right. Or a bag of dicks,
Yeah.
as Joe Rogan likes to say.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm looking over, and finally I'm like thinking, dude, I got to pull the ripcord here and get off. So I closed, and one of the guys had just walked in the stage door. So I'm like, thank God. So it's just one of those that you want to get off. But as far as working with them, it's been a year and a half since I've worked with them. They're amazing guys. They're always nice. To their fans, they're unbelievable to their fans. They always make a point. I have videos on my phone. When we were at Nashville at Vince Vaughn's Wild West of Comedy, all these people around the back of the Grand Ole Opry, the old Ryman, in the alley. And I told those guys, I go, you got to see this. So we go up. I felt like we're like Michael Jackson looking out the balcony window.
Holding the baby.
Yeah, well, we didn't have a baby. If we would, I would have dropped it into the crowd. Mosh pit. No. But they were all out there. And I had walked out back and talked to a few of them. They said, are they coming out? And I said, I don't know. So I went in and I said, you should see these people back here. So each one of them individually went back there and signed autographs, got some pictures taken with people. That was incredible to me. They didn't need to do that.
Right.
And the fact that they did, because I've been with people, I'm not naming any names, that won't do that. It's like, my time is my time. Fuck those people.
Well, if it started in such a grassroots kind of way for them, that's good that they're still focused on it, because that's the only thing it will sustain you in the bad times.
Right, without question.
For
I
sure.
can only imagine how overwhelming, though, that could feel.
It does. And I've seen guys that get what you're saying exactly, because it's like you never have free time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at what the hell is it called? Cracker Barrel. Pauly Shore wants to eat it. Steak and Shake or Cracker Barrel. So we're sitting there eating, dude, and he's got his sunglasses on, this huge hat looking thing. And this lady recognized him, and she came over and said, "Oh my God, I don't want to bother you. He's eating his eggs. I don't want to bother you, but can I get your autograph?" And he was nice enough and signed it. "Oh, can I get a picture?" And then he signed it and walked off. She walked off. She comes back. "Oh, I hate to bother you again, but can I get one for my sister?" And I thought, "Oh my God, what you're
pushing
saying?
it.
It's overwhelming.
Right.
You're constantly somebody wants something from you." I never have to deal with that. "You want my autograph?" "Shit, yeah. You got a sister or cousin?"
I'll give you 5 just in case.
Yeah.
You can hand them out for Christmas.
It ain't worth shit, but you can take it.
But that,
it could be someday.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like right now, that might be like what Todd's saying. In the future, you might look back and go, "Oh, I remember it was kind of a quieter environment. Now I can't sit down like Pauly Shore and not have possibly creepy people walking up to you and bothering you, and you're like."
And what's weird too is social media is such
Nice
a
face when
social media is such
son
a
of a
huge impact too, because you talk about like Marin's had a podcast for
Right.
how many years, but his TV show took off, and the podcast is part of his TV show, and so then it's exploded even more. And then Ricky Gervais, I guess his podcast is considered one of the best and longest running comedy podcasts I think ever.
I love that guy's laugh.
God damn, he's funny.
Right?
Did you see him?
He talks like this.
Did you see him with who's that comedian from New York? Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh yeah,
Coffee and Cars.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry
that one
Seinfeld
guy.
and Ricky
Who's driving?
Gervais.
It's like you're gonna get killed driving
He goes,
like this.
Jerry, Jerry, just screaming.
Jerry, slow down. You're going to get us killed in this stupid thing. It was driving us crazy.
He said something about Jesus Christ, but I don't believe in God. Or something. Yeah, he's a pretty hardcore atheist. I like that guy.
Maybe you'll do that someday. Podcast.
I'm so lazy when it comes to that stuff. I have all these grand ideas. You should see the footage I have of GoPro stuff. And I'm real good with photography and video making, but I just can't sit down and do it. It's like, oh, this takes... How many gigabytes is this going to take up on my hard drive?
What if you come in here and we produce it for you?
That might be.
There you go.
Well, because I mean, what did you?
We could do it out of my studio down there in Cherry Building. But we wouldn't have these squares. I got to tell you, when I walked in, I saw that mirror and I thought, man, there's another closet back there. Now I look at it, I'm like, that's a mirror, goddammit. Trying to make this place look bigger?
That was our idea.
Well, that
A
mirror
warehouse.
was on my ceiling in my bedroom, and my second wife made me take it down because of my first wife.
Because it landed on her once. Oh my God. 7 years
I'm
of
just
bad
kidding.
luck.
That never happened, baby. It's only you.
You're such a turd.
Why did he tell us that?
I don't know.
Personal and private.
Well, so is that your job, your mainstay job then is the photography?
No, my mainstay is hypnosis and comedy.
Oh, it is. Oh, awesome.
That's what I do the
good.
most. So I travel a lot with hypnosis. So I've branched out into colleges, and the one thing good with me in colleges is I'm 40. I don't necessarily look 40, but I certainly don't act it with the kids. With younger kids, and they are kids.
You're not
now.
the creepy old man.
I'm
Like,
not
why
the
is Grandpa here?
Well,
and why
some
is
of
he
the-
staring at my tits?
Yeah, and some guys are great hypnotists, but they just don't connect on that level in a way that some of the younger kids want you to be hip and cool and dance with them, or just I don't know. It's just be one of them.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's Dane Cook's probably biggest appeal. He's just a
without
big
question,
fucking
yeah.
goofball on the stage. So that's my take on it.
Are you a Dan Cook fan?
I don't mind him. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've found too many comedians that I dislike. I haven't really bumped into too many. I was like, unless somebody really just isn't that very good.
Right.
But there's not. I mean, I would say Joe Rogan, though I love him and I love his podcast. I wouldn't say his comedy is like my favorite. He can tell a great story that's funny.
Right.
I like that part. But some of his bits and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, okay. It doesn't hit me the funniest. But and Dane Cook's kind of the same way, because of some of the situations he talks about. But I just like good setups and good kill lines, stuff like that. That to me is that's why I like Amy Schumer. I'm a huge fan of Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
She's got some great one-liners that you hear a woman say. It catches me off guard because a woman's saying it.
Right.
And then I've also been in those situations where I'm going, oh shit. The best situation ever, you'll love this, is that my wife and I saw her in Chicago. And we're watching and we're laughing. And I've seen most of it before because of her TV show. And then she goes, I just want to be a nice guy. And It'd be awesome if when they came to talk to me, they didn't ask me to be on their fucking podcast. And my wife looks at me, and I look at my wife, and I'm like, oh, shit, that's me. So sorry, honey. Because that's all I think about. I'm like you, looking for things that are funny.
Right.
I'm like walking in like, hey, nice to meet you. What do you do?
How would you like to be on a
You want to do a
podcast?
podcast?
You want
Yeah.
to do a podcast?
You wanna come
We're
to my
going to have a
basement?
demonologist on.
Yeah. You are?
Yeah.
For what?
How fucking crazy is that?
She's also like a paranormal research lady.
Okay.
So this is how it broke down.
Exorcise the demon.
Yes.
Exorcise 'em. I saw her on YouTube because I was looking for. Okay, we're gonna get a little geeky for a second.
That's all right. Let's get geeky.
Cool picture
Get the
that you
Rubik's
did
Cube.
for the Jefferson,
Yeah.
right? So what software do you use?
I use Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Yep.
Do you ever branch into Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro?
I use Final Cut Pro X. I do have Premiere Pro, but it's not as user friendly to me. It's more like studio guys that are. I just
that are using the Final-
It takes. I like Final Cut Pro X.
okay, and that's the new version,
Yeah.
right? That's the
Very
new
easy.
version.
Very user friendly.
Okay, because I'm using. I was at work the other day, and I'm on YouTube, and I'm trying to figure out because I have both. I have Final Cut Pro, 5.5, the older edition, and I got Premiere Pro. And I'm thinking, well, they don't they basically do the same fucking thing? I'm like, why should I use that one over this one? So I'm typing this into YouTube, trying to look for a review, and all the videos come up on the side. And here's this blonde-haired lady. I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe because it says Premiere Pro versus Final Cut Pro. Click on that, start listening to it. And I don't really remember hearing anything about either one of those softwares. But what I remember hearing about was that she was a college student and
Quit her job.
she quit her job. And then I'm like, she was kind of entertaining. I'll go to her YouTube page. So I went to her YouTube page and I watched another video. And I watched another video. And then she said something about she wrote a book. And I thought, oh, shit. That seems kind of interesting. Maybe I'll tell Todd about her.
You are easy to get hypnotized. You were hypnotized by her a little bit.
A little bit. And so he watches some of her videos, Facebooks her, and she goes, yeah, I'd like to be on. And why did you want me on again?
And I just said, we just thought you were funny and interesting, and we could have a good conversation. That's what we're all about, just having a good chat. And she goes, oh, well, I thought usually I do interviews for my books and things like that. And I said, well, what books are those? And so she sent me to her website. And I'm like, and so I looked at him and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this lady like runs a paranormal research thing, and she has written books about it. She goes into hauntings and kind of tries to clean houses. I mean, she does all this crazy shit. And I'm like, what you thought was some goofy little video and we thought would be interesting has turned into something that could be pretty sweet.
That
Probably
is cool.
scare the shit
Yeah.
out of us is what she's going to do.
Because, I mean, there's so many personalities out there now on YouTube that if you find somebody, you're like, they seem like they have a really good time. I like their perspective on the world and what they're talking about. Maybe they would have no problem talking to me on our podcast. So I stumble onto that, and here she turns out to be is she a demonologist?
She's a demonologist besides doing the paranormal research stuff.
What
too.
if she brings like a suitcase full of demons here on accident?
No,
Oh, no.
we're gonna go up
We're
there.
gonna go to see
I'm
her.
not bringing anything home.
I'm saying-
There's no demons.
we
coming
could
with
bring
me.
something home?
Yeah,
you know,
maybe I
guess.
record a demon.
Wow.
Maybe we get home and I'm going through my stuff.
I
and
started thinking about the fourth
the fourth kind.
the fourth kind again.
Okay, so now what a great segue
Fucking horrible.
because that
oh shit, that was hypnotism.
that brings us back to hypnotism. Did you ever see the movie The Fourth Kind?
No.
It's so
It's based on a true story.
Doug. It is so horrible. I can't tell you how horrible it is. I'm probably gonna set it up to make it so
I'm
it doesn't
putting it in
seem
my
horrible.
notes right now on my phone.
It is so fucking scary.
Have you ever seen what are the movies that were based on a video game? It's about The Walking Dead. What was it? The
Legend of Zelda.
The yes. The Umbrella Corporation. What's that called?
Donkey Kong.
What do you? I have no idea.
The
I have
Umbrella
no clue what you're
Corporation.
talking about.
thought that-
Resident Evil. The Resident Evil
Oh,
movies.
okay, yeah.
Okay. The main actress from the Resident Evil movies plays the main role in The Fourth Kind. That's
Got it
why
on
I'm
my
trying
phone.
to set
Oh,
it up.
okay.
So it's a very oddly done movie because at times they have real footage from the place because she's playing the role of this lady who was a therapist that also used hypnosis on people. And
Hypnotherapy.
Yep, hypnotherapy. So at times they'll half screen it. So they'll have the original footage, and then they'll have her playing out that scene. So I thought that was kind of
And they
neat.
mix it enough. Well, they mix enough things going back and forth that sometimes sometimes I kind of got lost as to what was real that I was watching and what was fake, and it scared the living shit out of me.
because these people were having the horrible nightmares, and
watch a shit.
they were. It's supposed to be scary.
Watch it in the daytime.
I know it's supposed to be. Fire's supposed to be hot. That's why I don't stick my hand in it. Jeez. It's supposed to scare the shit out of you. Okay. That's
The thing that freaked me out the most
why I've stayed away from it, I guess.
is there were times when, but I mean, from everything I've been told, everything is fake. The entire movie is fake, and they go back and explain all the things.
I don't
want to
believe that that's fake. I want to believe
it helps
it's true.
me out quite a bit as a human being to know that was all fake.
It helps you
None of
sleep
it's
at
true.
night.
None of it's true. None of it's true at all.
Because at one point she's doing dictation. She's recording her thoughts at the end of the night, and she fell asleep with it on.
Right.
And so in the morning,
Oh, somebody's talking.
in the morning, she wakes up and she goes about her stuff, and she goes to work, and she hands her tape recorder over to her assistant and goes, "Hey, could you get that transcribed for me?" And then she's talking to somebody else, and the assistant comes in. She goes, Did you know what? Did you know what's on? Why did you give me this? Did you know it was on this tape?" And she plays it, and it is her screaming,
Dude, like the most blood curdling, pure terror scream I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it'll give you goosebumps.
It will. It gets
So
me,
I watched that movie.
my stomach's churning.
I
right
watched
now,
that
just so
movie,
you know.
and a little bit of me,
That's from
just
the
a
Chalupa.
little bit of me, wanted to set the GoPro up in my bedroom.
Oh, yeah. That always goes on. What's that for?
Don't worry about the flashing red
Don't
light.
look at the blinking
Demons. Demons, man.
I just want to see if I'm being visited. Truly, do you want to get it on?
Yeah. You're gross. Sicko.
Well, why do you have 6 cameras up if you just want to catch the demons? Oh,
I want a demon from all
Do
angles.
you guys believe in ghosts and UFOs? Do you believe in that?
I believe that I don't know everything.
I
know-
believe in UFOs for sure. Ghosts and spirits
I mean,
and shit like that.
under
probably
the direct definition of it, it's an unidentified flying object. It's
Right.
not. It's unlike anything that we've ever seen. All of a sudden, there's a ball in the sky. There's a saucer. I've never seen that.
I'm just going to
stuff.
say that I assume that there's life on other planets, so I assume there's UFOs or there's other aliens or something like that.
Well, I think we'd be ignorant to think that
Yeah.
we're the only ones. But let me paradigm shift your thought there.
Oh God, you gonna scare me?
No,
Okay,
Tie it in a knot.
but listen, what does everybody have these days?
cell phone,
And what's on a cell phone?
Camera.
camera.
Why is there less footage now of UFOs than there
Oh.
was in the 70s? Everybody's
Yeah.
got a camera. Why doesn't people have all kinds of footage?
And they catch
anymore?
everything on those cameras. I
Yeah.
mean, everything's on YouTube.
You know,
Yeah, it's a good
so
point.
Why is there less footage of UFOs now with all the technology we have today? Nobody's seeing UFOs these days. It used to be all the time in the
Oh.
paper before phones and cameras.
That's a good
It's a really
point.
good point. Is my assumption is they're sitting back going, okay, let's just wait till they blow it, and we'll go in and we'll just.
Aliens.
Well, I think
let's
we
just-
already
let's just-
have.
let's let them let's let them destroy everything totally, and then
Mission
we'll go
accomplished. But I think that's funny with cameras is everybody has a camera now. It was kind of like if you were a kid at a park and your parents wanted to get a picture of you with, let's say, a monkey, you would have to have. First of all, you might be 18 before they finally develop the pictures, or you'd have to find somebody with the camera. But nowadays, you can just say, "Hey, can you email me that, or can you send that picture to me of my kid because you didn't have your camera?" I mean, think about how
Yeah,
different
it's
that is.
incredible.
I was actually watching again on YouTube. There was a commercial for the new mirrorless cameras, and you just take your phone and you touch your phone to the mirrorless camera, and it downloads the
Pictures right on?
pictures right onto your phone. You
crazy.
just-
Well, and their newest,
Or your tablet
the
or
newest
whatever.
cameras aren't using digital capturing it or pixelation. They're using light waves to capture it. And so, say your daughter's doing gymnastics and you take a picture of her on a backflip or something like that. You can now take that picture and you can fade her out and focus on the front of the picture, or you can focus on her and everything else is blurred, or you can focus on the people sitting behind her watching just with one photograph, because you're catching all the way. It's almost like a 3D picture you're catching, but now they're just regular cameras you can buy. This one guy showed.
So there's no depth. There's no depth perception in it.
Oh, there's tons of you can go deeper into the picture to manipulate
and unfocus it.
Yeah, and
Okay.
unfocus it. So this guy had a picture of a guy like going around a corner on a dirt bike, and he focused on the dirt hanging in the air in front of the bike. You can see the bike out of focus behind him, and they focused on him, and the dirt was blurry. And then they focused on the building behind the kid, and they focused on that, and everything was blurry in front of it. It was just crazy.
Was there a UFO anywhere in that picture?
No, there wasn't.
How about a demon?
That'd be sweet.
So
demon.
a demonologist. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my thing is, who knows what they are? You know, and maybe it's not demons. Maybe it's alternate reality. Maybe it's another dimension that we're touching into. I have no clue. But I'm also at that point where I'm not going to say, nope, the Earth is flat.
Right.
Right.
How could you?
Because as soon as you do, then you prove to be a douchebag.
Then you get tapped on the shoulder by a demon.
Well, we kind of talk about that.
Are you gonna be done in the shower pretty soon?
Yeah.
Could you please stop jerking off and get out? Because
Well, that's why we talk a lot about being agnostic, because we're not going to say there's nothing, but
Yeah, we're on the fence.
we're not sure. You haven't convinced me yet.
Right.
So I wouldn't say a full blown atheist at this point, but definitely agnostic because I'm just not sure.
Trying to start.
yeah, and then there's
step-
people
baby
that
steps.
can convince you of just about anything, and that's probably the most awakened thing that I've had since I've gotten older is just how gullible we all are.
It's TV. Listen, when I said you're easy to get hypnotized, TV is hypnosis. All things on YouTube, a good person, a good speaker is basically like a hypnotist. They get you to lock in. You guys both play sports and do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When you get in the zone and everything else is out, that's exactly what hypnosis. That's the best way I can analogize it to people. It is like being a sports player or being in a book, and you're so entranced in it that nothing else matters.
You don't see yourself turning the pages while you're reading the book. All you know is that 3 hours went by and a movie was being played in your head.
Yep.
While you stared at nothing.
Commercials are hypnotism. Think of this. If you, I feel like I sound. Think of this.
It was a little high pitched, Doug, but you're okay. You're all right.
So you know the guy that, the commercials that come on. Everybody hates commercials. You want to DVR through them, right?
Right.
But for years they were there. Those are a form of hypnosis because they get you locked into that commercial. If you sat by me every time a break in the TV show came in and told me the same story every 5 minutes. Hey, guess what? Did you know that paper towels are only $2.49 today at Hy-Vee? Did you know that they were $2.49? And by the way, you should go to this place and do this. You would hate that person. But TV commercials, you sit and watch it because you're entranced in it. Isn't
That's
that crazy?
interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
I was actually gonna ask you this because you are as well versed as you are in hypnosis.
And I love the
and
fact
you know
that you
the
do
background.
history in it too. That's
yeah,
neat.
yeah, cool. That's really neat. Are you ever watching TV and go, oh Jesus Christ, I can totally tell what they're doing, and it's not just a simple thing. You're really manipulating the shit out of me. Like I know all these tricks, and you're batting 1,000 right now.
I think that's a very big part of a lot of stuff, especially like women's. They get onto the subject that they really like, and then they just keep hammering it. And it's a false sense of reality, and that's why people like it. Hypnosis people love because it's a false sense of your reality, because now all stress and worries have gone away. So when you're watching those shows, all stress and worries are gone away. You're just sitting there watching it. You're entranced in it. Nobody lives like the Real Housewives of America, but everybody wants to. Everybody sees those ladies' lives, go, "Oh my God, that'd be awesome."
Who the fuck wants to live like that? When you say that to me, it pisses me off because my wife watches
I
that
hate
show
that
too.
show.
And I was
hate
like,
it.
do you really want to be like that? Do you want to have fake tits and be talking about nothing but all this superficial bullshit? That is frustrating.
But
There's
it takes you away from your life.
Oh, your own problems. Okay, well
That's
that makes
what-
sense.
And I don't mean that necessarily they want to look at it that, but it gives them a false sense of security. Like, oh, this things ain't that bad. But God, I wish I had that. I wish because
That makes sense.
those people never live like that. That's all
Yeah.
scripted. It's written. You got to go tell this lady she's a bitch, and we're gonna start a fight. Here's the cameras rolling. But I think the idea behind it being, and I'm not saying that that's verbatim, but hypnosis is channeling you on one thing. That's really what you're doing. Is you're channeling somebody on one thing. If I'm telling you I'm about to stick a needle in your arm. I'm taking you away from that thought. I'm taking you away from the idea that you're going to have some pain here in a second, and it's going to go away.
Are you going to kick me in the balls? Are you setting me up for something?
No, but I did watch a guy.
I was just staring. You were eyeball fucking me, and I was like, this is really good right now.
I don't know if I was doing that, but
I was really into you. For
He
just
always
a couple
goes one
seconds.
step further than he needs to, Doug.
Speaking of that, I was just in Vegas recently, and you said you're going to kick me in the balls. There was a guy. Well, first of all, we walked out of this place, and I had seen this girl sitting with a cup. She was begging. And she didn't say anything. And then everybody had walked by her. Well, I stood outside and was waiting. I had a few beers, so I'm just kind of hanging out. My friends were getting food at McDonald's. My wife and a buddy of mine were getting food at McDonald's like 3 a.m. And I'm watching this girl, and she's like, yeah, man. She's on her phone, a smartphone, which is probably at least $40 a month.
Yeah.
She's like, no, none of these people are giving anything. Yeah, they're just all walking by. And I wanted to say, hey, listen, I just saw a guy with a sign that said, kick me in the balls for $20. Get some flair here. Maybe you'll get a couple. Get off your phone, you jerk. She's just sitting there with a cup. This guy's asking to get kicked in the balls for $25. Literally, that's what reminded me when you said, you're going to kick me in the balls. Flash. He was standing right next to Chewbacca. There was a guy in a Chewbacca suit.
And
Nice.
he's saying, kick me in the balls. For
He had a
$20.
sign that said, kick me in the balls for $20.
Did you see anybody take him up on it?
No. And I wanted so bad to go ask him, but... And then we saw... This is the crazy thing, is because these people in these outfits, there was like a Super Mario guy.
And they start. I mean, they have that in Times Square. They have that in
yeah.
Los Angeles.
What,
right?
kick me in the ball for $20?
No, just people dressed up in
Oh,
costumes.
So you
Okay,
can get a picture
okay.
with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you never really understand. So they got a suit on. Okay, so hey, it makes it okay to get a picture with this guy with a suit on. We saw a guy down at Fremont Street that was getting his pictures. He had taken his hat off, or helmet. He was a Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtle. He had the hugest black eye. A tooth was missing. And I'm thinking, you want that guy with your arm around your kid? This guy's looking for money to get. He
Super
obviously got punched
creepy.
by a meth dealer. Like, where's my $20? Go get kicked in the nuts. The other guy's doing it. Ass. But, and then these people are out there. Yeah, I'll take a picture with you. $20. What?
That's awesome. Oh, I want to ask him what.
I don't know where we
what's
went
your
with
what's
that.
your
No, go ahead.
what do you think your best impersonation is? The same one? Beavis and Butthead? Is that the
Beavis
one
and
you think
Butthead?
you're best at?
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
asked
you
you.
asked
I asked
that.
what your favorite. I said what your favorite was. But which
uh,
one do you think you're? No, maybe more importantly, what do people ask you the most for? Is there one in
I
particular?
tell you what, if my wife could do Christopher Walken
It's
while we were in
crazy.
Yeah,
sex,
your Christopher
while we were
Walken's
having
great.
sex,
It's
oh.
unbelievable. Your balls. Have you been kicked recently? You have an extra 20. Why is the GoPro with the light blinking? The only demon we're about to see is me at this point. Take it easy.
Oh,
Go get me
that's
another
awesome.
the green shake that you drank. It looked like the bottom of my yardie when it rains.
Yeah, if I could have a Christopher Walken soundtrack, or like,
Take it
you know, like
slow.
congressmen, or in the UN, they had the little
Oh,
the headphones that translate everything.
right.
If everything could be translated to Christopher Walken's voice, and I just walked around with that all day long.
Will you do me a favor?
Wait, he just said I'm eyeball fucking him. Now he wants Christopher Walken to say sweet things to me. Put
I'm
your
gonna ask you-
thumb right on
when
the
we
tip
get done
of
with the
my
podcast, will you
uvula.
will you will you record my voice message?
Yeah, you want to?
Fuck yeah,
So the one I think I do the best.
because that's pretty good, Christopher Walken, buddy.
Yeah, but I don't know if you were a Sopranos fan.
I wasn't.
Did you watch The Sopranos?
I never did.
Jesus fucking Christ, these guys. How many fucking times? You remember James Gandolfini, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
You know his voice. I like to do that sometimes when I eat. I order stuff from Zio Giano's and call it in like that.
Do you really?
Just give me the fucking gabagool. What's going on?
That is awesome.
And then the people at Zio John's like, may I take your order?
Yeah.
I had a guy get mad at me once, a Middle Eastern guy. You know, okay, we talked about it earlier. I'm half Lebanese, but he got mad at me. I go, hey, it's like a form of flattery. If I'm doing your voice, it doesn't mean I'm making fun of you.
Right.
But in that case, I was. But if you learn somebody's voice, it's flattering that you got a voice that people want to learn, But
that it's so unique and
Right.
like one of my favorite things is at my work. You know, you go to retell a story from at work, something that just made your fucking gut hurt and you were laughing with your buddies.
Right.
You retell it to somebody who doesn't know what the fuck's going on,
Right.
and it's but
thumbs
it's
down.
finding those idiosyncrasies with people. And there's some people in my work that have very specific mannerisms, and it's super easy to impersonate. But then there's a lot of people who you can't impersonate. Maybe myself, but Christopher Walken or the guy that you were doing the voice of.
James Gandolfini.
The guy. The Sopranos.
Well, you were saying the guy who got upset.
Oh, yeah.
But I
can't
mean,
remember his name.
there's certain voices, there's certain sounds that are like, that's so unique.
Yeah,
It's cool to be that unique.
I think it is. I wish my voice was unique enough.
I'm trying to make it just. I'm just going to talk like this from now on.
Holy shit, are you doing the Doug T voice?
Is that the Doug T voice?
You're doing the Doug T voice.
Sounds like
Who's
a-
Doug T.
Part of helium.
Oh, the
Part
Doug T
helium,
voice.
part lisp.
Well, a guy who opened for Amy Schumer came out and was like waddled on stage, kind of stood there and was like, "Hi, I was supposed to come out and talk to you guys. I mean, this whole thing." And it wasn't funny, you know?
Yeah,
and so I was kind of like going, okay. And he made a couple of funny one-liners that were real dry. And he wasn't, didn't act like he was trying to get a laugh. And then he broke character and started doing his normal stand-up.
Right.
And that was so much better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're trying to be a character. I don't know how people do that comedic-wise.
Well, sometimes you get bored in yourself and you kind of you lose yourself in your head a little. I used to do, when I would go to Penguins, I haven't done it for a couple of years, but I used to go down there and MC. And what I would do is I'd have new material that I want to work on. So sometimes I would come out in this alter ego, but nobody would know it was me. I'd have a wig on,
Oh, really?
and I'd wear kind of a funny outfit, and I'd do the scared guy, like this. I used to call his guy's name was Billy Salinger. He talks like this when he talks. This is scared a lot more people here than I thought there was going to be. A lot of people say, like I'd look at people and go, "Do you have kids?" And they'd say, "Yes, I used to." They won't let me see them anymore. Just stuff like that. Just dumb jokes that I wanted to just be like one punchline jokes. Like they say kids are really into this autoerotic asphyxiation. That's where you choke somebody. I say get married because you feel like you're getting choked all the time. Dumb stuff.
Right.
So that's probably what the guy was doing, because sometimes you do lose yourself and you go, I don't want to do that same joke, and maybe he's having a bad day. Maybe he was just trying to see how far he could take him and then bring him back. Because sometimes that's fun too, where you'll go. You never want to do it on a major show, but I'm sure he's probably pretty solidified with Amy Schumer.
It sounds like it.
I mean, it's her opener. She knows what he does. She might even thought, oh my God, he's going to go out there and I can't believe he's going to do that. Because
Just try and...
it's sometimes fun. You ever done something different at
interesting.
your job?
That's a really good perspective. Yeah.
Because you get monotony of doing it, and if you're doing it one night after another night after another night, sometimes it's fun to throw in something, and it might not work, but all of a sudden maybe it does. Maybe you've hit a home run, and now hopefully you got a tape rolling or audio because you pick it up, and you got 10 new minutes that you didn't know was there, but wow, this worked. Or
That's a really good point. I think I forget that too when it comes to professionals. Sometimes they have bad days as well. It's not they have to be on all the time and perfect. I think that that's another thing that I think the media definitely does is like if everything's not perfect and you're killing it all the time, you must be some kind of you're probably not as good as you think you are kind of thing. That's just kind of shitty.
Yeah, and I was telling Jeff that comedians, to me, have some of the biggest balls.
Yeah. Clank and
Because
spark.
Clank and Spark. I mean, besides the people that
$20.
wrangle the great white sharks, besides those people, I think comedians probably have the next size biggest balls. Because I could not get up on stage every night or a couple times a week.
I take a chance like that.
If I got up on stage and I had one bad night, I'd be like, oh, God, my stuff isn't funny.
Well, yeah.
Right.
The only thing I can tell you is I'm going to show you something here. I'll show you this picture. This is where I was at. My phone's all messed up. I've dropped it about 17 times. That's the crowd I was in front of on Friday, right there.
Okay, that would not make me nervous at all.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Very cool.
what you're saying is you have to be. I always tell my kids you have to be unafraid of failure, because without failure, no success will ever happen. Now, some guys get delusional and they don't understand that at some point, if you're failing a lot in comedy world or having just, you got to be done. Move on. It didn't work. I'm not going to go be a surgeon because I would
Kill somebody.
After 30 or 40 people have died.
Yeah, after leaving a few utensils in there, after sewing it up, just look, okay, what is that, duct tape? But you have to be able to trudge on. But the hardest part about comedy or any live performance, but comics more in general, when you're in a band, if the song doesn't go good, guess what? There's probably going to be one that they're going to like, but you got 4 other guys up there with you that are taking the shots with you, if you suck.
Right.
But when you're a comic, it's you and a mic stand. If you're sucking, it's instant. Right now, I know if they like it. I don't get the opportunity to say, cut, let's do that one again. You just have to go on.
Yeah.
And you have to show that, okay, and there's guys that go, oh, I always like watching new comics. And it was something I never did. I never acknowledged if a joke tanked. Because if you do, then they go, wait, maybe he knows that this isn't funny too. Maybe, should we be laughing? Maybe this shit isn't funny. Because there's guys that'll go like, oh, well, that one worked the last time I was in. It's like, what are you calling us stupid? You just so when you're there, it is, it's not I get a kick out on people. One thing is if you make it look easy, sometimes people will come up to you and say stuff and they piss you off. Because I had somebody once say to me, yeah, that looked, you had them going pretty good. I'm thinking about doing comedy. Oh, cool. Yeah, it looks pretty easy. Oh. You think? That's the guy you want to go, hey, I'm going to bring somebody up on the stage because you told me all you do is talk about your life. Well, those are written. There's a punchline in there.
Those are rehearsed.
Yeah, I'm not just talking about my wife and saying, hopefully people laugh at this shit.
Right.
You found the funny, but...
Well, what made you good is you made it seem like it was off the cuff and just a random thought. And
you want to have a good flow,
Yeah.
but... And I wasn't mad at the guy per se, like, dick. I didn't get mean to him. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. It's complimentary, but it's a backhanded compliment.
Sure.
Like, what you do is easy. No. No. Because
I've spoken in
Now,
front of
if
a couple
somebody-
hundred people before, but that's because I went up and gave a speech and I had
Right.
something prepared and I felt good and confident in what I was going to do because I had cards in front of me. To go up there and have things memorized and know where the punchlines are or how the flow is supposed to work and take a chance in front of people, that sounds mind-boggling.
But even though you have your cards there, my cards are in my head.
Okay.
When I'm on stage, it's a pool game. I'm playing pool in my head. I know my next 3 jokes that are coming up after this shot right here. Now, sometimes if I go off kilter, I got to refine where I was at. But it's the same as what you do. And when you give a speech, if either one of you gave a speech, there's times in that speech where you get that lump in your throat like, why is everybody just staring at me? The part that you may have wrote that you thought might get, oh, yeah, and it doesn't, you're like going, uh-oh. Oh, shit. And that's when then people start to, you get that.
That
the stump.
hesitation.
Instead of just pushing on with what you were doing and forget all about it.
And that's what I think separates some professionals from guys that are amateur comics or anything in entertainment. If you mess up, if a guitar player messes up on stage, he never stops. You never know that he missed a chord. If you're an official or a savant guitar player, you know that he missed a chord. But most people don't.
Right.
You're going to hit every note in a solo.
And you hear that all the time, Ben, saying, oh, I missed this, and this.
Well, Chad
Really?
Canfield said that about being up on stage. If you're an actor and you're doing something in a play and you forget a line or you fuck it up or you didn't say it just right, just keep on moving because nobody in the audience knows that you jacked up. But if all of a sudden you're talking, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Stop.
Can we hold?
I'm sorry, guys.
Can I do that again? I'm really sorry, everybody. Can we do that again?
And cut. Bring it in from the top. Okay, where was I at? So you just with hypnosis, and you can tell if it's a bad show or a good show. But what's a bad show and a good show to me or other entertainers may be a great show to the crowd. But you look at it as that sucked. I've had hypnosis shows that people come up to me after and goes, oh my God, that was amazing. But in my mind, they sucked. Because maybe the guys or the subjects on stage weren't as active as I wanted them to be. They weren't as vibrant. And I think it sucked, but you always have to look at it. It's the eye of the buyer. If they enjoyed it, well, then they enjoyed it.
Right.
But like us, if you've had a bad podcast, you think, oh, that didn't go good. But people rate it and go, oh, that was a great podcast. In your mind, you go, I didn't think it was.
He wasn't feeling that. Yeah.
And that happens a lot. And that's where a lot of depression comes from with comics. Because, you know, I'm not saying a lot of comics are depressed, but it is a very hard thing to do to walk off on stage. I always tell people, I always want to make this documentary called After the Laughter. Because when you're done, when you walk off that stage, you're done till the next day. Now, you can go mingle in the crowd, but most of the people just want to talk to you a little bit, but you're done. You've taken, and now you're going back to your hotel room, and you're going to sit for 20 hours, you know, till the next show. So sometimes it gets like, whoa, what the hell do I do? So when I'm in towns, I try and go find things to do. Go to Walmart, watch people walk. I'm thinking about doing this new website called The Walks of Walmart.
Trademark.
Yeah,
For Doug.
copyright for me. I've already got it all planned out, so it's already copyright.
Oh, good for you.
But because I can impersonate how people walk, and so I was watching these people walk, and I'm like, God, that would be funny to do, and then just to have little snippets of them, and then show me doing it behind them, like with GoPros at a Walmart.
That'd be
awesome.
fantastic where he's just like head to toe GoPro'd out. Like chest mount, head mount, 4 of them on his hips, all the way around him. Because you could be walking, doing your walk, and then you could also be catching people's reactions around you. Like, what the hell is he walking like that 80-year-old woman? Why is he walking like the 80-year-old woman was?
I used to do that at concerts. My buddies, there'd be lines of beer in the beer lines, and my buddies would be like, "Oh God!" I go, "Don't worry, we'll get right up there." And I would stand there in the line, and just do this, and then I start talking like Ozzy. And people they'd be behind you, or you'd be behind them. They turn around and look at you, and they go ahead, man. I just be doing this and moving my arm every once in a while. And the next thing you know, you'd be like 5 people ahead, and then you'd get it. You walk by and go, "Thanks, guys." They get so pissed, but then they'd start laughing about it. My buddies would be like, "I cannot believe you just did that." Why?
Now, this is just a misnomer. Were you a class clown in school?
No.
You go to Kennedy, right?
I went to Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cedar Rapids, Kennedy. No, I mean, I was fun and funny, but I wasn't the guy that disrupted class because,
You're a thoughtful, funny person.
yeah. I mean, I did my fair share of that. Did you guys, anybody go to Kennedy? Anybody?
No.
There's a guy named Mr. Pittner there. I used to love the guy. He was a if anybody from Kennedy is listening, they'll know what this guy is. He had this stacks of junk on his desk. I mean, it was stacks. And what he would do, he was a real eccentric guy. And I worked at Hy-Vee, and he used to come in and he'd buy these cases of Milwaukee's Best, and I always
Sweet.
loved it. Like, oh yeah, that dude drinks a lot. But during class, he'd be reading answers to a test, and if you'd mess up, and he'd go, like, I had a head injury from racing motocross when I was younger, so I was gone for a while from school. And he's reading, he goes, Doug? He'd always point at his head. Try and focus. And I always thought that was so funny. He'd just pick people out of the class. Like this one kid, this kid would say something, and he'd go, the answer to that is B as in buffoon. He'd point at the kid that he's looking at. These days you probably would get tossed out of school.
Oh,
if
you'd
you
be
did
fired.
Oh God.
Well, maybe you wouldn't be fired because there was
fired.
that fat, horrible woman that grabbed that student by the face and shoved him up against the locker. Did you see that video footage?
A kindergartner. Yeah.
A kindergartner.
Yeah, it was really horrible
off
video.
his feet.
Oh my God.
She picked him up off his feet.
Yeah, and then she was like right in his face, screaming and yelling at him. You can just tell his hands are at his side, like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And he might have
Was that the lady from Dance Moms?
Yeah,
It was kind of like that.
yeah. She kind of looked
Even
like
if he's
that.
a kid who has like behavior problems in
You
school,
can't.
you can't interact like that. It's just not how it goes. But see, I think high school will be different. They're getting close to being adults.
And in
They
high
can pick
school, you
up
should
the
be able to pick
humor.
people up
Yeah.
off their feet.
No, not that.
Oh,
but tease
I
people.
I didn't
I
know where
remember
you were
I had
going
a
with
science teacher go, come to the board and do this. And I used to be so quiet and nerdy and scared when I was a kid that he looked at me and I wasn't registering what he was saying to me. He's like,
You got rid of the
hello,
quiet
let's
part?
go up to the board, do this problem. And I said, me? He goes, yeah, you dill rod, get to the board. And I was like, and everybody laughed because of course I was going, what's a dill rod?
Yeah.
And walking up to the board. But I think that I don't know. I think there's part of me that thinks that kids need to be a tad prepared for when the real world is going to be like that, goofy and eccentric, and you're supposed to laugh once in a while and not be so goddamn serious.
Yeah.
So I think, oh my god, that's a great story. Hey, Doug.
Oh,
That's awesome.
and everybody knew what he was talking
It's
about.
so
too.
inappropriate, but God, it's funny. So what, you're a
Are you
motocross racing?
focusing? That's what he would say. Focus. Yes. What the hell's going on?
Wait, what?
Why
I'm
does
gonna
it
go meet
smell
this
like
guy.
popsicles in here? Yeah.
Oh God, that's fantastic.
No,
So you're racing motocross?
I did when I was young. I did for a long time. And there's,
My son really wants to do that, and I'm like, oh Christ.
it's a great sport, but you got to be prepared to get, you're gonna get hurt at some point. But
And
it's a great sport, and I have a lot of friends that are great.
Expensive as hell.
It's expensive, but what isn't?
Oh, it's true.
You want to play club soccer? Drop
Oh.
1,000.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
baseball.
This is what you
Yeah.
need. This is what you need for soccer. People, shin guards, a fucking ball. You don't need titanium bats. You don't need crazy helmets. I mean,
But
Jesus
traveling
Christ,
and all that shit too is crazy.
Okay.
Here
Doug?
comes the argument.
Here
Yep,
it
he's-
comes.
Here comes Larry Merchant out.
Jeez
I'm gonna get a little
Louise.
crazy because
What would you say during the fight? Please.
I'm not gonna reply like Mike Tyson did. Was it Mike? No, it was
Jesus.
Floyd. Wasn't it Floyd that freaked out on him?
Oh, yeah.
It was Floyd. That,
If I was 20 years younger,
If I was 20 years younger, I'd whoop your ass. That's what he said to Mayweather.
yeah, in the ring right after Floyd won.
you ain't ever gave me nothing, Larry. You HBO and they need to get somebody. Yeah.
I'm 20 years younger, I'd whoop your ass.
Really? Nobody else has.
I was
going
gonna
to
say, shut the hell up.
But go on. What were you
All right,
gonna
I was
say?
going to say,
Sorry to
the
interrupt you.
expense of taking these kids out of state to a whole nother state to play a game or to a tournament. Is there a thing called overpopulation? Is there a thing called schools are so overpacked with kids that you have one teacher per 40 kids or more? Isn't there enough kids
to play baseball here?
within a 5-mile radius that you could probably play and never play the same team twice?
I would think.
Probably.
Jesus, let's get a clue. And I say that because I have 3 small kids and I don't want to be traveling.
Oh, it's expensive.
And my wife and I look at each other and are like, okay, so our kids are going to be underachievers. They don't do diddly because we work so hard during the week. It's like to sit down and take a breath of fresh air on a weekend. You're just like, but we sat and watched. I mean, you and I watched your boys play this last weekend, and my kids came with me to watch, and it was a great time. I could see them doing something like that. But swimming starts soon. Swim club is going to be happening here for my oldest, so we'll see. That'll take time as well. But
My boys have a game today.
oh,
If you're not doing anything, you want to take the kids.
I have nothing but free time to spend
What
with
time
you.
did it start?
so.
It didn't start like a half hour ago.
No, it starts
Where the hell is Dad?
We're late
in 2 hours.
In
In
2
2
hours.
hours,
All right.
it starts. But yeah, so we're gonna go there, and God, and I don't even understand why we had to travel as far as I do, and I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
I
not-
did it with soccer. I mean, we're just now stepping out of competitive soccer
Yeah,
because my daughter can't commit to it fully. It's not necessarily her, but if you're putting forth that much money and they want you to commit when you're in a club team,
Mhm.
but she wants to play softball, she wants to play basketball, she wants to run track. So you're like, how do I tell her, no, you just got to stay in soccer? So we're just going to go back to rec league.
Mm-hmm.
But God,
That's a good idea.
I mean, it's so you got to be ultra committed. But I mean, I played baseball and that growing up on leagues where you'd go travel, but it wasn't like it is today. Holy crap!
Well,
No.
it's any sport. I mean, it seems like any sport
Right.
now. You better start at 5.
Badminton's
Well, you're
not
not-
like that though. That's an Olympic sport.
That's an Olympic sport. Yeah, absolutely
Jesus
right.
Christ, is it really an Olympic sport?
They got rid of women's
Well, so
soccer.
is curling.
They got rid of women's soccer.
Yeah, but which one he wanted the curling shoes?
He does.
I
would
love
n-
curling.
That's stupid.
I love curling.
I'm gonna have to.
It's an
side.
ancient,
I'm gonna-
ancient
It's
Nordic.
ancient?
It's an ancient Nordic thing to play.
You're gonna have to
Ice
prove
Age.
that shit to
I'm
me.
just
Dinosaurs
Ice Age.
whacked things across
I'm
the
just
ice.
kidding. I have no idea where it came from. I have no idea.
You know
You know-
how I think curling was originated?
With the drunk
Let me tell
Canadians.
you, let me tell you my
I'm
story on
listening.
this. This was a bit that I was doing for a while during the Olympics. I think it's because some guy, his wife said, take out the garbage, and it was all icy. And he what? Fuck you, and slid it down the driveway, and it didn't get all the way there. And the neighbor guy goes, "Oh yeah," slides his all the way down, gets right close, and his wife said, "You can't get any closer. Grab the broom." And she's out front getting a nice path as it slides up. Beat that, Dick.
That could totally be it.
Speaking of Olympics, do you think it was weird they were going to get rid of wrestling?
Oh yeah,
Since that was like the
founding.
if you think of Olympics, I think of that and running.
When you think of an Olympic body, an athlete,
Yeah.
do you think of a wrestler or a curler?
I prefer curling, but that's just me.
Okay.
I'm just
No,
kidding.
no,
I'm kidding.
I swear to God,
Relax.
you're only doing this
Jesus.
to make me freak out.
Just exactly
So
why.
don't you think
I do think
You're gonna
it's
start getting crazy
Look at his
eyes.
eyes are going bananas. Get that demonologist in here. Don't you think, though, that the early days of wrestling would be when they would want to get rid of it? Because those guys didn't wear clothes. And if you're standing across the mat looking at a dude's sweaty sack about ready to smear crossface you, that'd be the time you're like, wait, can we get rid of wrestling? Isn't there some other crazy sport that we
Yeah.
could do?
I don't want to be on bottom. That'd be bad.
I wonder if they had like crazy names back then, like they do now, like the Saturday Night Ride. Are you Saturday? Oh God!
But
Yeah.
then
Right in my
they
face,
still
dude.
have things
Stubble.
like badminton, though. Badminton's ridiculous.
When's
But
the last time you played competitive badminton?
I've never.
Were you
played-
ever in a league?
I played when I was a kid with my grandparents.
You played it at a family function. Or a
Yeah, but I
corporate
mean,
event?
they got rid of women's softball. Why would
Tetherball.
you not have women's softball in the Olympics but keep badminton?
Right.
It's kind of like,
Horse jumping. Who gets the medal, the horse or the person on top?
yeah,
Yeah, fuck that
a
rider.
really big medal for the
'cause-
horse.
You think
Yeah,
the horse would be like, hey, I could have jumped a hell of a lot higher if you would have been kicking me in the ribs the whole way.
If you weren't on my back,
And this huge ding dong that kept knocking the bar
Okay,
over.
I can understand. I can understand archery. I can understand track and field. I can understand wrestling, of course. And then like a sport that kind of makes sense.
a mainstream soccer, baseball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. But curling.
Um,
What about that sport?
It's a winter sport.
What
for
about that
God's
sport
sake.
that people would ski? I don't know the name of the sport, but they would ski and then they'd whip a fucking rifle off their back and shoot
Oh,
targets.
they still do that?
yeah, that's
I think you're right.
biathlon. It's biathlon.
And so they
Really?
cross country
Nordic
ski.
biathlon, yeah.
There you go. That was some of the best Winter Olympics this last year. Some of the stuff I watched was that. It was amazing. I mean, they just taxed themselves. Like, they all collapse at the finish. They all just, like, fall down because they're going so hard. And they have to stop, slow
They
their
tax
breathing.
themselves because they didn't win, and they go, well, I just gave up 4 years of my life for this shit. So wonder they don't turn the gun towards the
Yeah.
person that's winning and shoot them
That
in
person
the heel.
just got a bronze medal. Wow.
Can you imagine shooting somebody in the heel as they're going, fuck, I'm winning. I'm getting
There's no cameras on this
It
corner.
getting
accidentally went off.
I'm gonna get an endorsement from somebody, Smith and Wesson. Damn it, I don't care.
Remington,
So
sponsored
you-
by Remington.
What do you think that the sport should be based on? Like amount of people playing them?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because snowball fights, a lot more people have snowball fights than they do curling. So
True.
we don't have Olympic snowball fights.
That'd be awesome.
Snow forts. A couple years ago, I made a snow fort
Oh
for
my
my
God.
kids. The neighbor kids came over and go, "What are you doing?" I'm building a snow fort. For what?
Yeah.
Throw
What do you
a snowball
mean
in their
for what?
face.
It looks cool, but yeah, it's for snowball fights. You hide behind your snow fort and you throw snowballs at other people. Oh, could you build me one? Hey, listen, go inside, wake your dad up,
Yeah.
and have him build you a snow fort. I had a couple of dads that were a little pissed off at me, but so what?
I built a snow cave. You know how we had a big amount of snow on everybody's side of their driveways. So I decided, I'm going to help my daughter. We're going to build a snow cave in there like we used to when we were kids.
Yeah.
You'd sit in there. So I'm digging this thing out, and it took me, I was in there for like an hour digging this thing. I got a torn labrum in my shoulder. That's what my surgery's for. So it was taxing me, but she was happy. Dad, it's going to be cool. My old youngest daughter comes out like, what are you guys doing? So I'm in there and I'm digging in deep. Freaking thing caved in on me. All that was sticking out was my feet. I could hear my daughter going, Dad. I'm like, trying to get out.
Oh, fuck, dude. That's not
I got
funny.
out.
And that's why you don't make snow caves
Yeah.
anymore.
I could imagine if my daughter was in there, how would she get out? I mean, it wasn't like it was heavy. It'd be like you
Yeah.
diving on the top of me.
Or what if you're stretched out like this?
That's what I was.
And you, I mean, so you just
I
wiggled
had
around.
the shovel doing this, trying to get it out, and I hit the top part, and it just all caved in on top of me. Scared the crap. My
That's-
feet were sticking out. I'm trying to get out.
That's freaky.
I get out, my dog goes, Dad, oh my God, are you okay? I don't know. Go get Dad another Busch Light. Mine's in there. I can't get it out. We lost
It'll be
one.
nice and cold when we find it.
Man, the mountains have turned blue.
This spring.
This spring.
I do get a lot of material from them. Last night, me and my daughters, I came up with this idea for s'mores. I said, you know what? We'll take a sugar cone, like an ice cream cone,
Yeah.
put a marshmallow on the bottom, put some peanut butter over the marshmallow, put a banana in there and put some chocolate on the top, and then hold it. I took a socket and I put it in there over the fire, like a wrench, the socket in, and I held it over the fire with a pair of pliers, heated it up. Oh, it was good.
Was it really good?
It was just like a s'mores.
Wow.
So my daughter's eating it, and she kind of got a bunch of it on her, and she's like, oh. I go, well, you don't like it? She goes, no, am I being a pussy? She's 11. I said, what? What'd you say? Am I being a pussy? And I go, I don't think we say that. Wuss would be more appropriate, but not pussy.
Where'd you get that from? Mom says it all the time.
She says it about you when you got trapped in the snow cave. Is your dad being a puss?
Seriously,
his
seriously,
little-
I was almost trapped. Don't make fun of me.
His pink little boots were going like
Yeah.
this, like crazy.
I had to wear moon boots as a kid. Did you wear those?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I had my sister's hand-me-down snowsuit, which was cool. It was red, but it had half of a rainbow on it.
Not a full.
No, and I get all. It was just one side that had half of a rainbow. And my mom would be like, "Why?" I come home with like snow in my ear, red face from getting hit with snowballs. I'm like, she's like, "What happened, Mom? I'm wearing a half of a Target right here. This is half of a Target."
Did you grow up all in Cedar Rapids?
Mm-hmm.
So
Went
where
to
do
Madison and Roosevelt.
Oh,
I was a Rough Rider. Roosevelt.
yeah. And the Rough Riders are even rougher than they were back in your day, probably.
Are they?
It's a horrible school right now, unfortunately. Great teachers. I know a lot of the teachers there. but
Allegedly.
they're pretty-
That's a horrible school.
No, you can ask anybody about Roosevelt, and they roll their eyes like, "Oh shit."
It was a little rough when I went there.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't-
We
I-
had a
pretty
mix.
bad.
I don't understand school boundaries. Like, if you live here, you're going to that school, but if you live closer to that school, you're actually going to go to that school.
Well, and it's just way things are mapped out because I know people who can see a school from their backyard.
You can't go there.
And you can't go there; they're bus somewhere else.
That's
'Cause
like
the-
that's like at the strip clubs. You can't go to the champagne room. You got to go way over there to Charity. The one with half
I
of
know
the
she's rubbing
shoe.
on you, but you can't touch her. She
Yeah.
can touch you, but you can't touch her. Wait, aren't we touching?
Not
We're touching,
anymore.
right?
You're gonna be touching
Yeah.
your steering wheel, buddy. You're out of here.
Yeah. But for $40, I should be able to do something.
I think they should put a cab meter on their butt so you know how expensive the ride's getting.
There you go. It's a good idea.
I like that.
You just
One with the big lever back in the old days.
because you've done that. You know that you're driving home in a cab and you're drunk and you know you got like $12 and it's about 11 and you're thinking, I can walk the rest of the way. Can we just stop here? Are you serious? It's a bad neighborhood. It's all right, man. And I ain't got no money after I pay
Yeah.
you.
Do you want this or not?
Yeah. So, did you say you do therapy with your hypnotist? And
I do
stuff?
some, yeah. I don't like really advertise it. It's kind of word of mouth where I do it. So it's not I do it and I work with people and I've had success with people and it's people are nervous there's a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis. People think that you lose all. Well, first of all, people think that if you're weak-minded, you can get hypnotized. Exactly the opposite. The weaker the mind, the harder it is.
Huh.
Hypnosis is three things: imagination, intelligence, and concentration.
I got it. Spades.
Yep. See, we could hypnotize them like that. But see, people think that it's often when I have people on stage, it's just turn in a key. Just a little click. Once I get them to that certain point, I can usually tell within the first 5 minutes of my induction who's going to go and who's going to go good. Just because of certain things I'm doing when I'm having them relax. I'll do a thing right at the beginning where I do a relaxation thing where they're not getting hypnotized, but I have them all close their eyes. Well, I'm looking for the joker that's up there screwing around. I can tell right away, and I'll send them back. And, man, I've had some kids in college get pissed. But I'll tell them to take a deep breath, and they'll go, I'm watching everybody else go, and then exhale out. And this person will be going, well, everybody around him starts laughing. Well, he's going to screw up my whole show.
Right.
So I just go over and tap him on the head and say, if I tap you on the head, it's okay to go back to your seat. And they always look at you like, what the hell? Sorry, dude.
Don't be a douche.
And
Well,
I
Enjoy
give
the
them,
show.
I give them fair warning, too. I say, if you're coming up here, You have to remain focused. I can't have you screwing around because if you do, I'm getting paid to do a show, and you'll ruin the show. And I get rid of them like that because you don't want to have a bad show. And the college they'll just say, well, why didn't you hypnotize the other guys? Well, I couldn't do it today a lot. It wasn't right for this time. So you have to get rid of them. But
and some people, have you ever had somebody come to you for therapy and you're like, you're just not allowing yourself. You might want to be hypnotized, but it's just not happening for you.
And I've never failed with putting somebody under. I know I've failed where one of the questions I'll ask somebody, let's say somebody wants to quit smoking.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask them, what's the motive behind it? Why do you want to quit smoking? Is it because your family says you need to quit? And if the answer is yes, I'll tell them we can do it, but chances are you're going to fail. And the reason why is they don't have it in their mind that they want to. Because you have to have the drive to do it, just like anything.
Is that like when the alcoholics have to want to go get help for it
Exactly.
to work? Okay.
Anybody. If you don't have the tenacity to drive yourself to something, you're never going to achieve it in anything in life. You know, if you may be the best singer in the world, but if you have no drive to get out in front of people and sing and do this, yeah, you're not going to make it. Same with a podcast. You guys got a great podcast. But if you don't want to sit down here and do it, you know, people rest on their laurels, and that's the same way with things they want to get better at. A lot of times people rest on it and go, oh, status quo, I can do this, I'm good enough at this. But that's what I think makes people achieve more with hypnosis if they really, truly want to. It's very easy to do.
My brother-in-law really wants to stop smoking, but not sure if he has that drive yet, though. That's what I'm wondering, if he really wants to stop. It's mostly because of his wife.
Well, a lot of it, but you know, I can change somebody's perspective on what they think about certain things and what I hear from them. Like I had a gentleman that was chewing. I myself was a chewer for 25 years. I haven't chewed since October. I did self-hypnosis on myself. I haven't chewed since October.
Wow. And that, to me, that's worse than smoking. That's just me, though.
Well, it's
It's all relative.
yeah.
Well, I mean, if your lip falls off because of cancer, it's blatantly obvious. But if you're sick of lung cancer,
Oh.
you know what I'm saying?
As a gross factor, for me, I think chewing is like the worst.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but see, it doesn't affect other people either.
Oh, true.
But
There's no secondhand spit
Smoke,
that,
yeah.
unless of course you're cleaning out a garbage can.
I'll tell you a story about that in a second, about secondhand spit. But it's funny. But anyways, this gentleman, I knew that his kids were a big thing, and he didn't want his kids to know. And what I did is set up a scenario during our hypnosis session where he could see his kids on the beach. He could see his wife on the beach. But he couldn't get to him because he continued down that path that he was going to, and he was no longer there, you know, because of this habit that he had formed.
Oh, wow.
And you start to put that stuff in people's mind. Then I also said, now see yourself there. See how good everybody looks. And now, one of the other things was money. He didn't want to spend the money. You know, it's expensive to chew. It's $5, $6 a can, depending on what you chew. If you're chewing 2 times a week, that's $10 a week. That's $40 a month. So I started saying, take that money and put it in a jar. So now you have a vacation. And rather than paying somebody else to kill you each and every week, now you've paid that. So at the end of the year, you got enough money there, you take a little vacation. Put those little things, they're just triggers. You know, triggers that will resonate in that guy's head, or whatever they tell me. I'm taking those triggers, I'm going to place it into a way to talk to them about it. Because I know that's their words. So they're hearing their words. They're not hearing me saying, you should quit chewing because it's going to hurt your lip.
Right.
Well, nobody sees that. But you see your kids.
Right.
You know, you
Right.
can visualize your kids, or you can visualize you not being there, you know.
And so, what do you charge for a session?
$130.
$130 for a session? Okay. Interesting.
And how long does each session last usually?
It depends. It depends on the person. Sometimes I'll go longer. Sometimes it'll be short. It depends on how I feel. I mean, everyone's an hour. You know, it's always an hour. I do a little pre-talk with them and explain to them and find out stuff about them. And usually it's an hour that they're under, 45 minutes to an hour. And some people go 1 session. Some people will go 3. I always tell them, when you feel like you're slipping, call me. If you don't feel like you're slipping, don't call. You know, because I don't want to be like, oh, you got to do 5 sessions, so it's going to be this amount of money. Because
Right.
that's taking advantage of the
Right.
situation.
Yeah, it's I had a chiropractor one time, and went in and I told him I really pull my back. Muscles are spasming. I can't twist. So what's he do? Twist me. I can't breathe now. And he goes, I'm going to need to see you at least 10 more times to adjust you. If you do that, let's just set up appointments, 10 more appointments. And I walked out going, I'm not going back to any of these fucking appointments. Yeah. Why would I go back 10 more fucking times?
Did you go to the next chiropractor and he said, well, make sure you don't do any twisting? Wait, what?
Yeah. No, that's when I found the best chiropractor who I went in again. My back was spasming and they gave me like a half an hour massage to relax the muscles. And then he adjusted me and everything is good. And that is River Valley Chiropractic.
I thought you were going to cut into an ad. And this is when we like to talk about sleep by numbers beds. You don't need a chiropractor. You need a sleep by number bed.
That's our next sponsor.
Oh, that'd be sweet. Could really set
I
us
remember
up for...
Andy Dufresne that last night in his bed. It wasn't a sleep number that night he slept in.
Oh, Andy.
God, what a good movie.
I feel cheesy. Because I like to do little voices and stuff, but I can't do it next to a guy who does it really well. It'd be it would be like having a porn star in a bed next to me having crazy porn star sex, and I'm laying there on top of my wife going, I can't measure up to that.
She's thinking the same thing, and that's why she picked Sleep Number by Bed 69.
Thanks, Doug.
It was at that point she realized the GoPro was going, and he had been kicked in the nuts for $25 earlier that day.
You think he wears a cup?
Oh, who? No, I don't know. I wasn't gonna. Dude, speaking of cheesy, I'm sure his crotch probably smelled like he was a homeless guy. Where's he gonna go get a cup at? The only cup he had was a red Solo cup.
Played against sports.
You know, I was going to say this story earlier. You were talking about the homeless guy and how you were looking at the girl who was on her smartphone. If you can afford a smartphone, maybe things aren't as bad as you think. Yeah. Maybe your priorities are a little messed up. But
it's like you said, even if you're homeless or if you have Title 19 or you're on welfare or whatever, you talked about people coming back from the military, instead of being given a check for money, here's free mental health care. You know, it's supposed to be for mental health care, but if you choose not to make it, you have money for an Xbox or something like that. So I wonder if they could find a way to do the exact same thing with some kind of welfare. We're not going to give you cash, but if you walk into the grocery store and you buy this allotment to stay alive and healthy while you find something else.
Well, isn't that what food stamps is?
No, food stamps is cash.
It is cash?
I had a guy walk up to me in the parking lot and go, "Hey, I'll give you $4 worth of food stamps for a $20 bill."
So It's not cash.
$40. You said $4. Did he say 40 or 4?
I thought I said 40. I meant 40.
Oh, I was going to say,
Yeah,
you are bad at math if you took that transaction.
Deal.
No, but I was, and so I said, I was like, no, I'm good, thanks. But I mean, it is money.
It's a form of currency, but you have to take it a couple steps.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no different.
No, I could turn around and walk right back into Hy-Vee and used it.
Yeah, but it takes
$40.
that person that has the stamps. It takes them to go up to somebody that's got cash to say.
Well, because you can't use it for alcohol, cigarettes. You can only use it for certain foods with a food stamp. So that's what the guy was looking to do was
get
the money for less scrupulous things.
And you'll see that too. I mean, they'll have two baskets, one with food and stuff in it for that, and then another basket with the cigarettes and the beer for
$70 card.
Hey, have you ever thought about doing, or what would be the difference with the, what is it, the past life, post life progressive?
Oh yeah, past life regression.
Past life. Is that like
it's a big
much
market.
Different thing, or
it is. I mean, oh man, in the lady that you'll speak to will tell you some about that too. But there's what's called ab reactions, and that's where somebody has a bad trip while they're being hypnotized, and it can be bad news bears. Let's say you're taking somebody back, and you're taking them back, age regression. Taking them back. Well, let's say I never do anything on stage with any of that. Like,
have you ever done stuff like that?
No, I won't. I won't venture into it.
Okay.
Mainly because you don't know what's going to come out, and that's like on stage, I don't do anything where you're going to feel like you're 10 years old. You're going to be like a child. What if that kid was abused as a 10-year-old?
Oh,
And all of a sudden now that can come right back in their mind because they're visually seeing that or feeling those feelings again. So
that's scary.
Without question,
Jesus.
that's how they
Yeah.
do like crime. You know, sometimes they'll use hypnosis for crime. Do people remember if a lady got raped? To take them back to that to see if they can get more idea for, what happened and. Because in the time of the moment, your brain will still recall and bring that stuff in, but you yourself are kind of like, oh, I don't remember. I can't. You're blocking everything out, but your brain is, soaking it in. If you watch age regression stuff, is when people go to the past life, they think that they were something else. There's a lot of people that do it. I just never done it. I'm not. I'm scared of what may come out of somebody. You know. Not in a way that you don't want to open the door to something like that. Let's say all of a sudden now that's all that person can think about, and you just did that to them. They wanted you to, but now that's all they can think about.
Right.
Now all of a sudden you got this person maybe going.
Well, and
knows what?
and I think there are the Dolores Cannon method is a therapy that this lady in Waterloo does, and that's all that past life regression
Right.
stuff. But when I talked to her about her, what was that about? I think she assumed I was saying, "Can we do that on the podcast?" And she goes, "Well, everything that they have for that method is super scripted,
Right.
Like everything's really super precise. Maybe for that exact reason, is you could really bring something up that could
Right.
be pretty horrible."
And that's the thing that you have to always look at. Even when you're on stage, you have to worry about. I do some stuff where on stage, I don't know if you guys ever watched any of my clips where I turn a belt into a snake. It's a trick that a lot of people do, but they think it's turning into a snake. Well, you can get some really, you got to punch it up on there. Go to YouTube and hit.
Is that youtube.com?
I think it's catching on now too. I think
No, it's just the letter U.
it's somebody pointing a finger at you.
You porn. Why'd that pop up?
Yeah,
It's terrible.
that's right. You
come
won't see a snake turn into a belt there.
I've told this story before on the podcast about if you could mind fuck yourself in the right way. I worked with a guy who was just miserable. He was upset and he was a Debbie Downer all the time at work. But I was a supervisor and he worked on the floor and I had to interact with him and I tried to do the best I could with him. And one day he's just glowing. He's just super happy. He's telling jokes, And I said, "Hey, how's it going? What's new? You seem like you're doing great today." He goes, "Well, I got a new job." All right. When do you start your new job? He goes, 3 weeks, month. Awesome. But nothing physically has changed
His
in
perspective
your life.
on life.
Yeah. Your paradigm has changed. The way
Right.
you look at the world has changed, but nothing physically has changed. So if nothing physical has to change and you have that power, even if you, like this guy, he couldn't control it.
Right.
Something else there had to be an outside influence. But if we all could control how we look at the world, and what we're going to focus on, what we're not going to focus on, it's just that stuff amazes me. It totally amazes me. It's like when I got out of high school, I didn't even want to think about college.
Right.
I wasn't ready for it. There was no desire for it. But when I got out of the military, that's all I could think about. And so I succeeded in it, Do you think that hypnosis could become more mainstream to help kids with or anybody, just with their paradigm?
Well, I think there's a huge part of that because what I tell people when I do, I'm not changing your life, I'm improving it. I'm taking it, like I said, there's a little key sometimes that needs change. Somebody's got a bad attitude, they're always down in the dumps, but maybe they haven't seen the bright side of why they should be happy or what makes them happy. What makes you happy? I get down in the dumps, but then I got to think, I got my kids' names on my wrist. Each time I walk out on stage, it's an uplifting thing that I look down, give both of them a kiss, and I walk out. Because I think, you know what? Nothing that's going to happen out here is going to overcome what I have here. That's a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody has the ability to change in their head. But that's where most people fail, is in their head. That's why UFC fighters use hypnosis. Wrestlers have used hypnosis because Think about it, when you're on the mat, the only person that can beat you is you. You know, you've done all the moves. Now, that person might be more talented than you, but let's say they got a block in their head. Chael Sonnen was a guy. You guys know who Chael Sonnen
Sure.
is? UFC fighter?
Yep.
He kept getting choked out all the time. He went to did hypnosis, changed everything. Then he's fighting for the title. But it changed in his head. He got that block, and it changed him. You know, it proved him. It didn't change. Physically, he didn't change. Mentally, he didn't change. He just turned that thing off that stopped him. And that's what a lot of people I don't think realize is that you can stop things in your head when they get there. But it's a matter of looking over. And I think children are a big thing, and I don't want to go off on a soapbox, but I think children have problems today because when we grew up, every show had a purpose. You know,
The moral to the story.
right. Leave It to Beaver. You knew that he took some books from school or he did something wrong. And there was going to be, at the end, there was going to be a finale, a reasoning. Brady Bunch. My daughters are watching that. But today's TV shows don't have that. It's all happy-go-lucky. One of them's in a rock band. One of them lives on a boat. Everything's good. They never have any problems. The problems they have is, you know, asinine shit that kids don't have. You know, so kids look at that and go, ooh, I don't think there's morals there. I learned a lot from watching frickin' TV, watching Leave It to Beaver. You learned that you couldn't do that. Ward was going to come home and be mad. Brady Bunch. There was always a problem and a solution, so you worked it out in your own head. Where today kids don't have to work it out. They have Facebook. A kid looks at Facebook and they go, oh, shit, I don't have any likes. How come that person has 5,500 friends or 1,000 friends and they like everything they post? Nobody likes my shit. Nobody must like me.
And then you go down that negative.
Exactly.
Your mindset is negative. There was a lot. I remember being in wrestling, and my wrestling coach said, okay, here's your assignment. We had just gotten done with a weekend tournament, and this was back in early 90s. And he said, I want everybody to write down what you were thinking about during your last match. And then when we come back Monday at practice, I want you guys to turn those into me.
Right.
And I didn't realize this, but he was going to read some to everybody. And he picked mine. And in my description of my match, I can't remember if I won or if I lost. I probably lost. But
Negative thinking.
well, I think I lost because I specifically remember him reading my thing and he got teary-eyed because my thing said, I'm doing this. Fuck. Fuck.
Yeah.
I can't get this. Shit. I'm going to try this. Shit. And it was just, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And it was, looking back on it now, it was like, kind of like trying to use hypnosis a little bit, trying to visually
NLP.
take yourself through and see. He wanted to see what is everybody's mindset.
Do you think neuro-linguistic programming is it kind of like hypnosis?
It's exactly like
it
that.
is.
Yeah, Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
It's very much like that. And what he's doing is, what you're talking about is think of the word can't. Think if I tell you, you can't do that. If I tell you that we're going to go, you can't beat me. I've already put that block right in your head. You can't beat me. So what are you thinking right now? I'm going to beat him. I hope I beat him. I don't know if I can. You've already thought that. That's where, positive affirmation, Stuart, what was that guy's name?
Stuart Smiley.
Smiley.
Yeah.
God,
But-
I love that.
But the positivity of things, if you're on the mat and you're going, I can't, your thought should be, I'm not letting that happen again. I know how to get out of this. But most of us don't, because it's easier to bow out than it is to trudge forward. I remember breaking my hand, these fingers, in a wrestling match. First period. Sat out, went to do a reverse. Kid put his knee on it, busted my fingers. I went back after the first period. I was down 4-1. And my coach said, I think it was 4 or 3-1, doesn't matter. But I said, I think I broke my fingers. And he said, good job. Go out there and kick his ass. You're doing great. Well, all he did was block me from thinking about. I went out and wrestled. Rest 3 periods, won 9-5. But as soon as I got off that mat, my hand was like, whoa, whoa. He's like, you better go check with the trainer. But he just took, it was a mindset that I wasn't thinking about this anymore. Because every time I looked over, he just kept going, he didn't say, well, let me see him. Does it? Oh, shit. You'll be okay. He just said, "Go out there and kick his ass."
You know, sitting here and talking to you about this stuff, it's kind of highlighting just how fucking important your mindset is, and just how important your interactions, like your coach had with
Right.
you. I mean, he helped you phase out the fact that your fingers were messed up,
Right.
and helped you get past a tough time in your life. And I think about parents and how much influence parents have on their kids, and how are parents interacting with their kids, and what's the parents' reaction when a kid does this? Are they saying, "Hey, good job, don't worry about it, go kick his ass"?
Yeah, and you know, it's funny that you bring that up because I'm a very strict father.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, people go, "Yeesh," you know, sometimes, but I'm a coach to my kids. I was coached by a lot of different great coaches that were fantastic throughout my life. But the one thing I learned with that is there's times where I'm probably stupid with things I do, and my kids see it, and you know, do as I say, not as I do. But I'll get after my kids on if it's a sport or if it's in life. But I've always taught them, in order to be a great winner, you better be a great loser. You better understand what that person feels like. And you better be able to lose with dignity and not get pissed. If my daughter strikes out, I tell her, you run back to the dugout. Don't kick the dirt. Run back to the dugout. Because what does that tell other kids? What does that tell the other person that you're playing against, that pitcher? That pitcher knows that they didn't get the best of you if you run back to the dugout and you're ready to run out. If you just got shelled and you're a pitcher and you get the last out, run into the dugout. But everything in life with kids is, I love coaching. I just don't have the ability to go do it. I wish I could, but I constantly am coaching my kids when they're on the field. I know their coaches probably don't like it, but when my daughter's on the field, I'm giving her instructions. I tell her, look at me. I'll tell you what base to go to. I'll go 2, 3, or like tag that runner, because I just want them to know. Because I think in a situation where most people, when they fail for a certain reason. Their mind doesn't understand how to process it in that speed. So when I played sports or when I'm doing something, I think of everything as in slow motion. But if I've already prepared enough to defeat this thing that's going to happen, I know where to go with the ball. I know what to do. Because when you watch kids in Little League and they get a shot hit at them, first of all, they're stunned that they caught it. And now they got to try and process, what base was I supposed to go to? But if they've prepared by a coach saying, make sure you go into third, you go to second, then it's easy because now they've caught it, and that's the hard part. I caught this goddamn ball. It was a rocket, but now they instantly know. And I think kids' minds are like that. That if you constantly are coaching them, and I may overcoach my kids a little, and I'll be the first to say I do, but I want them to be prepared no matter what happens in life. That they know, okay, this is how I overcome that. This is why I'm overcoming it, because I'm thinking positive rather than, oh shit, struck out. Probably gonna strike out again next inning, or I didn't get that goal. I kicked the ball in our own goal. I don't know. Does that kind of?
Yeah, and I mean, I think if anybody's in a good position to know how to address something or to help somebody get past a tough situation, it would be you or a hypnotist. You know, so I find that fascinating. I wish I could do it more. I know that when my kids, when they swing the bat and they strike out, my older son, he swings, strikes out, and looks right at me like,
what do you do in that reaction though?
I'm like, come on, bud.
Yeah.
It's okay. Just keep your eye on the
Smile.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's tough because I think all kids, as us, everybody, you're always, and this is what sometimes I think parents forget, is those kids are so worried about how well they're doing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about it, if you have a boss or if you have a wife, anything we do in life, whether it's this podcast, you're doing it to get, some people to go, wow, that's really cool that they're doing it. But a kid, all they look at is the admiration from their parents. I did. What do you think, Dad? Did I do good? What do you think? And some kids don't ask because parents don't put that. There's kids that I watch that are on those ball diamonds, and I know they're not good. And my daughter sometimes will say, well, Dad, they don't play very well. And I say, well, it ain't their fault all the time. Maybe their dads don't play with them.
Sure.
They're not throwing them a ball. They're not playing. And that stuff, my dad and mom always were with us doing it. I do it with my kids. My wife does it. But I think the more you do that with your children, the more they learn from it. But I just think it's a big learning thing for kids is to see how you react in a situation like that. When you react and get mad, and if something happens and a play goes bad, yeah, it's okay to react and be mad, but then you move forward. It's called AIM. Do you know what AIM is? Acknowledge, ignore, move on.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of it before.
That's what we did in sales. It was acknowledge. If there was an objection, acknowledge, ignore, move on. Oh yeah, it's terrible that you feel that way.
You might want to write that down.
For you?
But
Well, you're the one getting a hold of all the people coming on.
I've already had my knockdowns. It's okay.
it's just, it breaks down to simple stuff. Like we once were at a place getting pizza, and it had been like 25 minutes. And it's one of those deep dish pizzas, a Chicago style. So you knew it was going to take a while. Well, the person, I saw all these people around us getting our pizzas, and my kids are going, Dad, what's taking them so long with our pizza? And I said, I don't know. I went up there and asked, and there he goes, oh my God. He pulls it out. It was a puck. It was black. He's like, this dude had been blasted. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry, man. I'll cook you another one. I'm like, is it going to take 20 minutes? He's like, yeah, it's for sure. And I said, that's all right. Yeah, just make it, but make it to go. And they came back, and the manager was like, oh, my God, we're so sorry. I said, hey, it's an accident. Who cares? No big deal.
Right.
But after he walked away, my kids were like, Dad, that's rude. And I said, what are you going to do about it? There's two ways you can react. You can be explosive or go, hey, it's all right. And I didn't explode. The guy all of a sudden brings us back tickets for 2 free pizzas. But if I would have been like, listen, you asshole.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a mistake. Because, you're
mistake.
teaching your kids that we all mess up.
Yeah.
We all mess up. We all blow it once in a while. So it's okay. You're not an asshole to somebody just because they
right.
blew it.
It's not that.
Jesus Christ, if that had happened to me, if I got in trouble every time I messed up,
Oh.
holy mackerel. Your life is just made up of nothing but
You're
mistakes.
constantly screwing up.
Yeah, it's all the time. I still screw up all the time. I tell my kids that all the time. Like, I made like 5 mistakes this morning. What'd you do? I forgot to take the trash out last night.
Uh-oh.
I left this out, and this got chewed up by the dog. You can just name all these little things if I chose to sit back and go, oh, I'm such a horrible person. I did these 5 bad things this morning.
Or you can laugh about it.
Or you can laugh about it and just say,
I'm an
Jesus,
idiot.
What a dumbass.
Damn it, I tell you, I was trying to do stuff. Andy, I don't know what I was going to do. I tried to get the bullet, and the gunner shot Gomer right in the face.
Again, one of those voices, very unique, but does it have a shelf life?
Yeah. Well,
Because the
older people
audience,
know it.
yeah, the older people know it, but the younger
kids are
people are
going,
like, who the fuck's that,
Is that
dude?
SpongeBob?
Speed it up.
Hey, Squidward.
So yeah, different voices do have a shelf life, but everything does though these days, because TV there's so much. Remember when it was 4 channels?
Yeah.
And
2,
nobody
7,
watched
9, 12.
PBS.
Yeah.
The only thing you watched PBS was Sesame Street or Electric Country.
Electric Company is my favorite as a kid growing up.
When you explain something to your children with like concoction, and you get to the end, you go Tion.
Shun, shun, shun,
Yes. Everybody know. Do you not know that?
I know that one.
Okay.
But I just remember I remember more the start. Conjunction, junction.
Yeah.
What's your funk?
And they had the silhouettes, and Morgan Freeman would say a word, and it would come out and pop. and the
Oh,
other person
God, I
would say
love
it
that.
back. Where's
What-
that show?
You know what was great? He was on. Oh, I am a huge Oprah Winfrey fan. Oprah Winfrey, is that what I said? But
Oprah?
It's Oprah.
I love
isn't it?
Oprah.
Did you say Oprah?
Oprah Winfrey. That's what I said. Thanks. I call her Oprah.
I like that there Oprah Winfrey lady. She a bad lady right there. It's hump day, Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in to Oprah Winfrey.
Well, she has her own channel now,
Say you're right.
and she does.
You're right.
She has what is it called, Master's Class, where they have people come in and just talk. They're obviously being interviewed, but you're only seeing their answer and their discussion. And Maya Angelou's was recent, and that was a really incredible interview.
Because she actually passed away.
That she passed away.
Yeah.
So, but Morgan Freeman just did one, and he was talking about being 40 or 45 still doing the electric company, and he couldn't get past it. And he was this character actor who had done all this stuff, and he just couldn't. They kept on pulling him. He's like, no, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And he tried to do something else, and it would not work. And they'd pull him back in, and he'd keep doing electric company. And finally, he went on, I think, Broadway is where he actually started doing stage. And then he got what's not Mrs. Doubtfire? What's the one where he's the
Driving Miss Daisy.
Driving Miss Daisy. He did that on Broadway, and usually it didn't translate over that you went from Broadway to the movies because you had to have a star appeal, and so but he auditioned for it and got it for the movie, and then that kind of they consider that launching his career. But I never on Electric Company for sure.
He hated that show. I read.
Yeah, I think it got really old for him.
I heard he
after
was
a
the
while.
biggest jerk too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and nobody liked him there. He was always a jerk.
Probably because he was pissed off about having to stay there. Probably.
I couldn't imagine being like a clown, you know, because you get done with your show and everybody. It's like, God, who was the guy? He had a show on Channel 2 when I was a kid with the ping pong balls.
What?
Jesus, it was a kid's show.
Oh, Bozo the Clown.
Yeah, and who was the other guy?
Cookie?
I thought it was Captain something.
Oh, Captain Kangaroo.
Captain Kangaroo.
Mr. Green
exactly.
Jeans.
He had the worst suits, and his haircut was like Dumb
Whack.
and Dumbers.
Yeah, exactly. No, how would you like to have that be your career? And everybody associates you with that, and then you get off work and you're just smoking up a cigarette, or you're
Having a
getting
drink.
trashed,
Yeah.
or you want to be a normal man, and you're like, oh my God, I just want some pussy. I just really want to fuck. I can't imagine you. I
Mr.
can't
Green
imagine.
Jeans.
I can't imagine
You
Captain
shouldn't talk
Kangaroo
like
fucking.
that.
That's just.
Oh.
I mean, to be so pigeonholed into that, nobody
Right.
can see you as anything
Well,
else.
you're no longer a person. It's like your kids see their teacher in the grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're out in the-
when
you-
mine
you
was
buy-
buying Milwaukee's Best by the case.
That's right.
I love this. And clearly, Doug.
Dude. That
Buffoon.
is the greatest. I hope you use that on your stand-up. That is
I
a
don't.
fucking
The-
riot.
What's really cool is is he still alive? Is he still around?
I think he is. I know he's retired.
I mean, you never know anymore. Somebody could have a massive heart attack at
a good
35.
yeah.
a good teacher's though. I mean, I remember Mr. Edwards was my senior year English teacher, and it was I took an English lit class that I was really wanting to take, and he was the first. He had a gay guy that I had ever been like around as somebody that I knew, and he talked about. He always said his partner, but I mean this is '89, so it still was kind of like.
Oh, it's taboo
Not-
then.
For
not
sure,
totally
yeah.
out there. So I remember looking at him going, he keeps saying partner and not saying wife. And I know he's not married. And he was definitely a feminine guy, but
Is
not
this guy in
everybody.
a law firm?
So it was, I mean, but he always stuck with me because he, I don't know, the way he carried himself was very dignified. And so later on, when I realized that he was gay, I was like, oh, he was just a great person, period. Let alone now I know he had a little bit of baggage of having to be in the closet. That would have to suck on top of all that stuff. So
I would have to say, if you're a really great teacher, like that guy seemed to be, where he could touch without physically touching a student, touch their souls almost. I
Right.
mean, I remember Mr. Dickerson, Mr. D in second grade. If you can remember, if you're 40 years old and you can remember who your second grade teacher was, you've made an impact on that kid's
without
life.
question.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
that's a good teacher. I mean, that's just it. And I would hope that he probably was so good at his job. He was so relaxed and comfortable with who he was as an educator.
Mm-hmm.
He probably just could he could just
He didn't
could,
give a
he
shit
could-
either.
He didn't give a shit. He knew what he was teaching, and he could just riff and just kind of pull people in that way. That'd be pretty awesome.
His
to have
desk
a
looked
job
like
like
a paper Jenga game. Like if you pulled something out, it was all Jenga. It was gonna go down. And you're thinking, how the hell does this guy grade my paperwork? And he had just shit all over his desk.
What year did you graduate from Kennedy?
91.
91. Okay. My dad taught at Kennedy for a while.
Oh, did
He
he?
was a behavior teacher up there. Yeah. No,
And you're
because we're on a
gonna,
podcast.
have a yurt.
We're on
Gonna have a yurt.
no yurts for me.
You're gonna live in a teepee.
No.
What's a yurt?
A yurt is a circular structure. Who made that? Who made that popular? That type of
It's
building.
from
Wait,
the
you're
I think
spitting out names and you don't even
it's
know?
Mongolian. I think it's
Mongolian
Mongolian.
yurts.
Oh.
They're actually yurts are supposed to be like put up. They're round. They have a cone shaped roof. They're for nomads. But my dad built a permanent one. He's a very unique guy. We lived in a teepee for quite a few years of my life.
Like year round.
In the Sierra Valley mountains for a while outside Tahoe, and then we did it here in Iowa for a little while too. So
Did the peyote ever eat through the Dixie cups?
No.
Or did-
no peyote. I do want to try ayahuasca though. That's on my bucket list.
you see the size of that chicken?
Oh fuck, I love that movie.
in the spirit world, assholes.
Young
Did you
Guns.
see the size of that?
Right? We're talking Young Guns.
Oh yeah,
All right.
Oh,
that was the
good
best
stuff.
movie ever.
what do you say? What do you say? I'm a Navajo, you asshole.
Navajo Indian, you. Hey, look at that Navajo Indian over there, Dirty Steve, Charlie, the pugilist.
God, I haven't watched that for a while. What a good movie.
I think he's in there taking a shit, Dick. Go check it out. Charlie Sheen was terrible in that.
Yeah.
He's terrible in everything.
Emilio Estevez is pretty good in that movie.
Yeah, he's in the currently Where Are They Now files.
Yeah, he is. Was he married? He was married to Paula Abdul for a while, didn't he?
I'm probably guessing that's not going to be on an obituary.
His gravestone.
Wasn't he married?
What?
I know he had a lot of great movies, but wasn't he married to that one girl
That dancing
danced with
cheerleader?
She danced with a wolf.
I loved her in high school. I was like,
Oh.
I'm gonna marry her.
Hush, hush,
Yeah.
hurry, hurry. You know who was in that video?
Oh.
All right, Keanu Reeves. He was in there.
Oh, really?
He was the guy in the video at the observatory. You don't remember that? See, I worked at Yonkers when I was young, and they had that on a loop. So I watched that shit constantly. Oh my god! That's why I still, when I go by Yonkers and I see people messing up shirts, I think, oh man, I would kill you right now. Because you'd have them all full like 854.
Oh,
they
wait.
would be in
I'm
there.
looking for
What
this size
is
out of
this?
the bottom.
Why would the double XLs be where all the smalls are that you just pulled out? Lady, you don't need a double XL. You need a car cover. Go check out AutoZone.
Oh, Keanu Reeves was on Stephen Colbert not long ago. And Stephen Colbert's like, I have real beef with you. And Keanu Reeves is like, really?
Why? What's up?
He's like, he goes, we're the same age. We're both 50. And you look like you're 30 years old and I look like this.
He doesn't really act anymore.
No, that's
Keanu Reeves?
He did that last.
He did
like a samurai
47
movie.
Ronin.
There you go. Which of course was a horrible, horrible flop. Did you
Right.
see it?
Yeah, I saw it and then I went and bought the book.
Didn't he give?
Did
Didn't he give
was
all
the movie
those?
good?
Yeah, the movie was good, but it's not the American. It's not the American ending that we all are accustomed to or
Oh,
want.
you're one of those guys.
Oh.
I didn't
Did
really
you
like
watch the
ending.
movie? No, I read the book. Well, I just watched the movie with subtitles on. It's kind of the same thing,
It is the same.
right? If you just read it with subtitles on, isn't it like reading the book?
Yeah.
Can you
I gotta-
imagine watching Harry Potter with subtitles?
I've never seen Harry Potter. Period.
None of it. You never read the
Never-
books.
Not
Nothing.
a single.
I haven't read the books. The movies I thought
I've
were pretty
seen the
good.
trailers. That's all I've seen.
Well, like Steven Spielberg saw The Seven Samurais, I think is the name of a movie, and it's like 5 hours long. It's the longest black and white samurai movie. It was shot in Japan by a Japanese filmmaker forever ago, and that's how he based off his ideas for Star Wars,
yeah.
all this stuff. And so my brother, who is like a really one of these diehard like crazy film people, he's like, you've got to watch this movie. And so I remember sitting on a couch watching this movie, and it was good, but man, was it fucking long. I remember my brother going like,
5 hours?
yeah, it was
It's a trip
forever
to
long. It was horrible.
Kansas City.
And my brother, when he was like third, fourth grade, would go in like in California in Palo Alto where we lived. Back in the day, there was the single movie theater, right? One movie theater on California Street. And so I remember my brother going there and watching Gandhi, which was like, 3 hours long. He went
never
there and
watched
watched it. He watched like some trilogy that was 3 movies in a row that day, and he left at 9 o'clock in the morning and came back later on that afternoon. He was just like always been a movie.
Did you go to
crazy
school
person.
for? I went to school for film.
Oh, you
TV.
did?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Kirkwood.
Oh, that's sweet.
5 years, baby. Not a veterinarian. But yeah, that's I was into that. I like film stuff too. I like the making behind it, but some of that stuff is like what you're saying, 3 hour, 5 hour movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a diehard Star Wars person, but I'm not going to watch a 6-hour documentary and all the things. I
Well,
mean,
my first wife made me sit through The English Patient, and I'm pretty sure that was one of the reasons why we got a divorce.
Isn't that what the one that Elaine hated from Seinfeld?
yes, yep, you're right.
Well, for good reason then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Seinfeld episode?
I have no idea.
I
Maybe,
still-
maybe the the one that stands out is the masturbation one,
That's the best one.
Oh, that's a good one.
where they're all like, hey, all right,
Kramer
we're
comes back in. I'm
done.
out.
I like the one where George is sleeping under his desk. Remember that? He made that whole thing under his desk where he's sleeping. Oh, no, the other one was he had to go get, what's his name, calzones. Those great calzones, Jerry. Or George. So,
I don't think I remember the calzone one.
he had to get what's his name calzones, and then he got kicked out of the place. They wouldn't let him back in, and he was getting them for Steinbrenner.
Oh.
I smell George. I can smell those calzones. Somebody smells like a calzone. Because I think it was what he smelt was, isn't that when what's his name was baking his shirts dry in a pizza oven?
Mike Richards' character,
No,
Kramer.
Kramer was baking his shirts dry in a pizza oven. Such stupid writing, but that's just all real life stuff that they just
Oh
wrote.
yeah.
I just listened to a interview with Larry David. In the episode where George quits, that's it. I quit. I'm out. And he leaves, and somebody says, well, why don't you just go back? Because after he got out, he's like, I can't believe I quit. I got nothing else. So he goes back the next day. Larry David did that at Saturday Night Live. His skit was supposed to go on to Saturday Night Live, and they cut it. So he went into, I think it was Dick Ebersol, and he's like, that's it. I've quit. I've had enough. He left, and he said he was walking home calculating in his head, I got to pay for this. I got to pay for that. So he just went back on that next Monday, and he said everybody kind of looked at him weird, like, what are you, I thought, oh, it was a joke.
Oh shit.
That's where that episode came from, was that really happened in his
Oh
life.
my god, that's fantastic.
Can you imagine doing that, walking?
I
No.
probably wouldn't be able to be allowed back on
Nope.
site.
Yeah, well, you were explosive, judging by the monkey shirt.
Yeah, my job is classified. I can't talk about my job.
Yeah, that's
No,
why you
I didn't
can't
mean
talk
that.
about
I meant like, are you explosive when you get mad when you quit?
No, I very rarely get mad. Ever.
Besides your kids. No.
Besides with my kids, then I become Captain Asshole.
That's a
Captain
good captain
Crazy.
to be.
Yeah.
That's what he wants
Stinky-
to get
stinky
hypnotized
job.
without, is that. That's what he wants to
Yeah. One of my okay. So let's get back to hypnosis for a second. Some of the things that I would love to work on, which I just can't for whatever
Can you get our timer going
get
for
around.
our session here?
Yeah. Okay.
No, for pay. I get that meter going.
I got
The
it right
meter. One
Talk
is
to me.
why do we treat the ones we love? I mean, I would be out of my mind if I couldn't see my kids again, but I treat them. I'm the most harsh with my kids
I don't know.
than anybody.
You know? That's funny because I do a joke about when you first take your child home and you're first holding them in your arms
Precious.
and you're thinking nothing bad's ever going to happen. You don't ever see yourself going, go clean your goddamn room. What's the matter with you? Get your head out of your ass. You never see that.
Dad, can you just lay down with me for a little bit? Can you just fucking go to bed?
The World
Just-
Cup's on
Just fucking go to bed, please.
once every 4 years, okay? I can't do it right now. Mom doesn't, we don't have DVR. I'm watching it in Spanish on Univision. Get out of here. I don't know, but I think it's easy to be mean to the people you love the most because you know that they won't walk away going, I'm never talking to that guy again.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can be there, but you always still have that love for one another.
Plus, I feed them. They have
Yeah,
to. They have
yeah.
to come back to me.
But here's what happened last night. I think my kids are at an age. She's at an age where mom and dad aren't necessarily as cool as they used to be. So like, I started. You said somebody dictated on something. Everything I have is like joke wise. Here's where I put it.
It's all on your phone.
This is funny. These are all jokes. Whoop. So I'll hit done there. Let me hit it again. So all these are jokes. If you look at those are all jokes that I write and I speak them into my phone. One last night, what you were saying, you feed them. My her friends showed up. I said, we're going to make some s'mores on the fire. She's like, oh, that'd be awesome. She's getting all, excited. Her friend shows up, ding dong. She's like, Dad, can I leave with them? I'm like, well, we're going to make s'mores. Yeah, I know. I'll be back. I'm going to go with them though. Is that cool if I go with them? You okay if I go with them? I'm like, yeah, but we're going to have these and maybe a unicorn or something's going to show up. I don't know. Maybe One Direction might be here, but I'm going to go with them, Dad, because is that okay? I think they get to that point where you realize that I'm not freaking on their radar
That's
anymore.
At all. Yeah.
Or it's like squirrel.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I want to really want to do this. Oh, what about that? Oh, yeah, let's do that too. See ya.
Yeah. So the other thing that I want to work on is
So you want to not be so mean to.
I want to I go from 0 to 50 like that.
You just
And
said you never get mean.
Well,
I
not.
do turn into Captain Asshole.
I do turn into Captain Asshole.
I'm like Zap Brannigan from Futurama. Do you ever watch that show?
I love that
Futurama?
show.
I don't. I don't
Why
have
is
TV.
everything always happening to me?
I don't have TV. I don't have cable.
You really don't have a TV? What
I
are
have a
you- are
TV
you
upstairs,
Amish?
but I have a TV upstairs, but all I do is watch
pasteurized milk.
What do you got? A
Garage.
planted flower in it?
internet stuff. I connect my computer to it.
Oh, okay.
Cable is so.
Well, you can get Futurama on Netflix, you know, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Netflix. I
You're-
do look
you're
at
welcome.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
So okay, go on. I'm sorry.
the other thing is when you self-sabotage yourself. We do it to ourselves all the time.
I think that's everybody does that though.
Yeah. Well, I really noticed it when I was doing powerlifting 10, 12 years ago.
Yes.
I worked out real hard 6, 7 months, 8 months preparing for this meet
Steak or a competition?
competition.
Oh, meat. I didn't.
Oh, yeah. So
Bratwurst.
like 2 weeks out, I just let it all go to shit.
Are you afraid to succeed or afraid to fail?
Failing
I'm
doesn't
afraid to-
bother me.
I'm afraid to succeed.
Sometimes I
easy
think a
one
lot
for
of
me.
people are afraid to succeed. Like, what do I get if I succeed? Maybe I think we all want to test our limits sometimes. Like, how far can I really tank this shit and see if I come out on top? I think people do that. I'm guilty of it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You do it on deadlines all the time, probably. If
Oh,
you know you have a deadline,
procrastinate.
yeah. I'll see how far I can take this, and then I'll see if I can do it. Because I think people know that they can succeed, but sometimes you get bored with it. Like you may go, I know I got this, or maybe you think I can't do this. Well, which you got to ask yourself which one. You got to ask yourself which one is it.
I might pay you to do positive reinforcements by
Well-
Christopher Walken.
What if I'm in your head when you're doing the part? Listen to me now. Hear me now. Use your gluteal muscles. Take it easy. This is not California.
I might. Oh, I
That was
might
Christopher Walken and Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger.
Take it easy. Use your pectoral muscles. It's
Oh.
crazy.
It's like he's drunk. I
Yeah.
like that.
Have you ever? Are you a big swimmer? Have you ever swam?
And
You swim?
back to the boat when I wipe out on wakeboarding, but that's about all I swim anymore.
I was training for the sprint Pigman
Oh yeah.
triathlon 10 or so years ago, but I remember this very distinctly. I had waterproof headphones, so I'm swimming laps with listening to music, right?
Waterproof headphones?
Yeah.
They're awesome.
It was I mean, you can really kind of zone out cuz when you're in the water swimming and you're doing laps,
They're waterproof
fairly
headphones.
fairly boring.
They're waterproof headphones, but the thing I was playing through them, that wasn't waterproof.
That wasn't waterproof. But never, and this is a little advice to everybody out there watching, never swim and forget that you have a comedic little thing on your recording. Because I'm swimming, I'm
Oh my
listening
God,
to
you're
music,
laughing?
and then all of a sudden, this I think it was Dane Cook. I think it was Dane Cook that came on, and I'm swimming and I'm listening to him, and I start laughing underwater. That's not a good mix. It's not a good mix to be listening to a comedian while swimming.
Yeah. Good job.
So you're going to listen to me and your
Who
voice?
knows?
Use,
I really
use your strokes more. Forget about the guy next to you. Lift the muscles. Use,
don't forget to breathe. Yeah,
one
that
thing-
type of thing.
when I tell people to breathe, like, because breathing, like a good technique for if you say you go to 1 to 50 is to actually breathe.
Mhm.
And what I tell them to do is when they breathe in, you breathe in positivity through your nose, and then you exhale through your mouth negativity. Because breathing is like the pattern for everything. When you know that you're in trouble, hyperventilate, you breathe. Breathe slow. If you're a fighter, you always hear people say breathe, because what happens if you don't? Your blood doesn't have enough oxygen in it.
Mhm.
Your mind doesn't think right. So, like, if you get real upset,
Is it time to wake up and go to school, Mom?
Jesus Christ.
what was
All
that?
right, guys.
Did your ding-a-ling go off?
That was our 2-hour mark.
Oh,
2.5 hour mark.
jeez,
Look
thanks.
at that. I'm like a sting here. 8 hours. But I think, yeah, just maybe breathe. Try some breathing techniques. I tell people, like, if you squeeze your hands together and you breathe a little bit, and it just, you're letting that stress go somewhere else. You're redirecting it. So you're not going to freak out on your kids, because I do it too. But, I mean, but sometimes one of the things I do is if I get mad and my wife and kids know, I'll sit there and I'll shake my foot and I'll just stare off in the distance and I won't say anything, because I know the next thing that comes out is probably going to be explosive. So I'm trying to keep it implosive and just let me calm down in my mind. Like, I'll just stare out the window. My leg is literally sitting there just shaking, bouncing up and down.
You know what's great is when your kids get older, they're gonna be like, "Hey, do you remember when Dad?"
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be at your funeral or something, but they're gonna be trying to laugh it off and get drunk, and they're gonna be like, "Do you remember when Dad, when we were little, he would just kind of
Stare out the window.
and he would do the fucking
Yeah.
dog humping or thing with his leg."
I'm not doing.
Where's that little muscly arm son of a bitch that delivers the papers?
But no, I just think it's a easy way for me to not react. You know,
Yeah.
just kind of I keep it in, but I'm not keeping it in where I'm like 30 seconds from now it's gonna go boil over the top. But it's funny because when you think you said to your kids later in life, do you realize that every day? I don't think people realize this, but I told my wife this once. I go, every day you're making a memory for your kid. Every day. Something might happen that day that they might remember for the rest of their life, or the next day. But every day you're making memories that later on in life, like when you get with your parents, you probably say things like that. Like, Dad, you remember the time you slipped and fell on the deck? Or Nikki, my sister, did. So I think that's weird because it may come out of, hopefully it ain't coming out of my eulogy about me shaking my leg. But do you remember when Dad just used to scream and yell and shake his leg and throw hot dogs at the neighbor dog?
Well, I think I grew up with like a tyrant asshole, and
When he lived in a teepee.
not my father. No, this is not my father.
Oh,
The other guy,
Something
the guy
other-
in the teepee was very chill.
Yeah, very chilled out.
Good
And so I
smell.
learned kind of what explosive asshole looked like, Captain Asshole looked like. And so well, my personality is very much quiet and laid back too, but it's kind of like one of those things now when things happen, and I immediately internalize everything and go, all right,
Yeah.
you have to just hold together. It's going to be okay, kind of thing. I think the only time it's ever happened where I let that out a little bit, besides once in a while arguing
When
with
he
my wife.
threatened to punch me right in the fucking face
We were sitting together.
That's what he said to me
We were
the other
sitting
day.
together, and I was staring off into space,
after 20 years of
thinking-
friendship.
thinking of him, and
Took that long?
being very. I was really. I was really frustrated. And I was there going. I was like, okay, so maybe I should just. I should probably just tell him exactly how I'm feeling right now. Just tell him. And I didn't yell at him. And so he goes literally, so how you doing? You all right? And I go, I kind of just want to fucking punch you in the face right now. And he goes, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. Just like that. And then later on in my mind, I thought, oh, I did a good job of holding myself together. I wasn't like, you motherfucker. I was just kind of like,
Right.
I'm upset. And later on, he's like, that was a big deal when you said that to me. But of course, the best part
Because
is his wife now says that his wife
Yeah,
now says
I told my wife that he finally said something like that to me because we have been friends for 20 years or even more.
yeah.
And we've never argued. We've never gotten into it like that where he's said something like that to me. So I told her I was really drunk, and then he said that, and I was boom, instantly sober.
Were you drunk? Were you drunk?
We were both drinking, but I wasn't quite as bad as he was.
Yeah.
What happened? Well, I mean, you don't have to tell me the path that led up to it, but something bad obviously
Well,
happened.
it was
Something bad.
there was-
What it was is it was me because we were
He
presenting.
drank the last beer out of the cooler.
We were at a bar and we were presenting something to somebody. And so I'm very scatterbrained and a holistic kind of thinker. And so for me to do things, I've got to compartmentalize shit and get it all lined up. Otherwise, it'll get fucked up. So I'll find a way to fuck it up. And so I had like individual note cards set up.
Yeah.
I had this whole thing planned out. I talked to him and I
I
said,
had a script that I was supposed to go
well,
off
it wasn't
of.
a script. It was more of like a list of items to hit
Okay,
on.
so it was a fucking script.
It was a list.
All right.
Okay.
And so he goes
I will
off.
come across this fucking table.
Oh, now. What did we just talk about?
I'm sorry. You're right.
Breathe and hold your hand for Christ's sakes.
And so
Just stand in the corner.
I started working on my card, and because I found myself doing the same thing, kind of launching into something. And I went back to my card and I go, okay, hit these points, and that's what you have to talk about. And so I got done with my card, and he started, and he just goes, "Blah," and just
It was
fucking
supposed to go-
diarrhea out of the
It was
mouth.
supposed to go card 1, card 2, card 3, card 4, and then lay it all out.
Because it was a ton of information,
Right.
and I know
Right.
I couldn't have processed all of it by somebody just talking to me.
It would have been it was overwhelming, and
I feel like a counselor.
it went
Oh, no,
step
it's okay.
1, it went card 1, card 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I was like, I finally took a breath.
He did. He was like
Man.
that, and I was like,
And
I've been sitting there staring at a neon light for like 10 minutes, going, "All right, it's all fucking
yeah.
out the window."
when I finally started breathing in, I looked over.
You need to understand. Okay, Dr. Phil is going to cut in here just for a second. There's 5 traits of a dickhead, and you possessed about 7 that day. You cut them off at the waist. It ain't always about you. Got to step outside and look in the box and look back in the box and see if there's a box there with a cue card that says "Don't fucking talk." And you missed that cue card.
And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was over.
Thank you, Doug. That's exactly what we needed.
Dr. Phil,
It
damn
was
it.
over before it began. I said that, and when I said it, I was like, I immediately regretted it, which I always do, which is why I don't ever fucking say stuff like that. But it was done. We wasn't like we weren't mad at each other,
Right.
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, and the car ride home was fine.
Yeah.
Actually, and I told my wife about it, but I didn't tell her that he was over it. Like he said it and he was over it and we were fine. So I told my wife about it, and the next day she goes, "So do you think has Todd messaged you?" No. Why? Do you think he's still really, really pissed? I'm like, oh no, yeah, I forgot to tell you, we're fine. I forgot to tell you.
It was over as soon as.
So
it was
now my
done,
wife likes
so.
to say that to me. So I'll do something. She goes, "God, I just want to punch you right in the fucking face."
Do you let her?
That's the best.
Would I let her punch me in the face, or do I let her say that to me?
No, would you let her punch you in the face?
Yeah. And then I would punch her
She's
right
a
in the
little lady.
face.
If you're listening, if you're scoring at home, that means yes. I'm going to text something real quick to my wife.
Well, Doug, we've also kept you
Yeah,
pretty
we
long.
got
buddy.
we
We're
got
gonna
to
wrap
cut
it up
this
right
short.
now, anyways. Hey, listen, I have your stuff on YouTube. We'll put some links on the webpage.
Yeah.
To your YouTube video.
You
if
want my
you're cool with that.
website too?
Yeah.
Yes.
How would people get a hold of you?
At DougTComedy.com is that's my comedy website. I don't update it very often. And then www.u, as in the letter U, R, sleepy. U, then R, letter R, sleepy.com. That's my hypnosis.
Oh, that's cool.
Doug Thompson Hypnosis on Facebook. But the Doug Thompson Hypnosis on the website, there's some funny stuff on there. So
Oh, sweet.
we do a lot of stuff, but this has been fun.
Any-
I can't
We
believe it's
really
2.5
appreciate you
hours.
coming
Yeah,
in, man.
hey
That
man.
was awesome.
Anytime you want to come back, that's awesome. And if you ever want to entertain the idea of us putting on a show for you, or putting together a
Yeah.
podcast where you want to do a podcast, and
He raised his eyebrow. Did you see that when he did that?
well, when you said
Rock.
when you said that about oh yeah, I'm in the Cherry Building and maybe I could have a studio in my space, I thought maybe.
For Christ's sakes, this guy's speaking my language.
Yeah, well, I'd love to
too.
help you out if
I
you
would-
ever
I
wanted
would-
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you have a big show coming up, anything like that. Just come on and we'll promote it on here too.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I got one
Not
in
that you need
October.
our help, but
Well, every bit helps. At Doug T Comedy at Twitter. So you guys are on Twitter, aren't you?
Yeah, at Doug T Comedy.
now.
What? Say it again.
At Doug T Comedy.
At Doug T Comedy.
Yeah, sometimes people say, well, you don't put Doug T on there because it goes to doubt on Google. Well, there's been a lot of doubt in Doug T's life, so that's a good fit.
Well, Doug, thank you for coming in today and helping
Thank
us
you
out
guys.
and understanding my issues as a father
Oof.
and how I need to look
It's only just
out of the
begun.
box
I'm
and then
gonna
get back
punch
in
you
the
right
box
in the
and
face.
You don't leave out the fuck. That's
Yeah.
important.
punch you
Le-
in the fucking
Who can we
face.
have do that? That should be your guys' tagline at the end of your show. You know, like on the Nerdist, they say, "Go eat a burrito."
Good.
They- eat-
I wanna fucking
enjoy
punch
your
you right in the
burrito.
face.
That should be not, but just leave the effing part out.
I
But
wanna
you
punch
should
in
have
the
it.
face.
I'm going to punch you right in the fucking face. For Christ's sakes, get out of my face.
Oh god, that's so
I might
great.
have to just take that little bit when I'm editing later and
Save
have this
it.
little audio file, and I'll just keep playing that.
The primal scream, punch you right in the fucking face.
Boom.
Perfect.
I
Thanks,
think-
Doug.
Thanks,
I think I made
Doug.
it. Thank you guys. Thank you very much for having me.
So, Matt, oh, Jesus. Todd, thank you for coming in tonight. Once again.
You're thanking me for coming in tonight.
Let's
Well,
cut.
sometimes
and
you're
restart.
Sometimes you're not on time. Sometimes
Shut
we got
the
to put
fuck
things.
up. I'm here on time all the time.
I'm just playing. He's very prompt. Thank you to It Works for this podcast. And I'm Matt.
I'm Todd.
We'll see you later.
Adios.